call the meeting to order. June 17th, 2019, Lincoln County Board of County Commissioners. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Correspondence. These are just ads. Do you want one of these? Okay, looks like we have some Lincoln Park Manor bills from street plumbing. I think this would be the water softener issue.
We paid that already, didn't we? We paid for it.
See, attached invoice is not paid, so that would be...
Well, we approved last...
So that would, there's an additional, okay, so $374 for, they're just giving dimensions.
Oh, we paid for the softener, those heads, so that didn't we? On the last...
She has paid here.
Oh, okay.
Paid here,
okay.
paid
there
here.
You go.
So these are the
other
additional ones. $374 in filters, 190 something for that. An evaporator foam no rinse, 192. Tubes, filters, 322. Supreme, I don't know, must be a fluid. 105.90. Let's see, 1563. These are all from street, so they're all parts. Filter, 105. Okay, so less the, let's see, 6,500, less like about 6,700 we already paid. It's 9,700 total.
Okay.
So it's about almost 3,000 additional dollars, huh? 2,500 maybe. I'm not sure. What's the big?
Now 400 here. What's the
Valves. Oh, clogged drain and assisted living.
They're not even.
That's from April. That's from April, though.
Oh, okay. Sink drain and assisted living.
These are all from April.
400 bucks. Wow.
What's a lift station? Oh, the
That's lift.
Yeah. It's air conditioning in the kitchen. Filters, bulbs, smell of gas. But for $441, I'd think they'd have fixed something, right? That's not just...
Maybe they did.
Call.
Maybe they found some leak, a gas leak, and maybe fixed some fitting or something.
That was what, May? Or...
That was clear back in...
Oh.
That's...
Why are all of these bills back from 18, Dawn?
Question. We don't know. They would just send us the invoice and hand out the invoices.
So are all these...
You have to look for the dates.
So they had a pile of them.
So this would be with Greg Babcock, though.
Oh, yeah. He left, and,
Yeah.
That was before I was over here. And obviously...
Thinking that streets just didn't bill us.
They're like keeping they're basically just keeping an account, and they haven't individually sent these invoices for you to pay. Well, I don't see anything that's not repair related.
We should maybe ask them how come they wait 6 months to bill us.
Right.
For a year, there's 5/18. That's a year ago.
Right.
I mean...
Plus, some of this, like this is a snaking. Again, we're paying for someone outside to come in and do a snake in a drain. I thought that's part of the, like you said, the Appendix A on the
Well, that's
lease.
something needs to be dealt with.
There's another snaking, yeah.
Let's
Let's put those to the side. Okay. Dawn, do we need to discuss county clerk budget information for 2020? Is that...
That's your valuations.
Oh, the total. Okay, the total. Okay, so real estate assessed valuation for the county, $38,419,279. State assessed, $21,736,297. Personal property, $996,881. Total value, $61,152,457. With new improvements of $61,854 and remodels, renovations of $15,962. So, and it has a little bit of breakdown, but. Alright. And this is. Is this the board that Mr. Wallace was on? Yeah, the juvenile detention facility in Geary County Secure Care Center. Maybe we'll wait to address that till we see what happens with the third commissioner. Huh?
Okay.
I think we both have enough going on right now. Minutes from June 10th and June 13th. Did you see anything that needed fixed or changed?
No, I read it, and
Okay.
I could glance over it again a little bit over here.
Dawn, under Thursdays, you might want to take that apostrophe out. Down under Thursday meetings, in the line itself.
Oh, I think, an emergency management, Don, David Doe, is he going down to Corpus Christi, Texas? I thought it was, College Station, Texas. Or,
That,
He wrote in his report Corpus Christi.
Corpus Christi? Oh, okay. I thought that was back when we discussed that, I thought it was,
Or that's what he said, that's what I typed.
okay, Corpus Christi's way
I
down.
remember him saying College
Corpus Christi.
Station.
Well, I did too, when we approved it way back when.
Yeah, I remember that, you saying that,
And
but I
now this
don't,
is Corpus Christi in the minutes, and I don't know what's right or wrong, I'm just,
yeah,
and it doesn't really matter, I mean, he's going somewhere down there, and so, whatever.
yeah.
We can find out, I guess, later. Other than that, I don't see anything with the minutes. I saw that Corpus Christi the other day, though. Remember, and I thought, because I remember they said that's Texas thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
College Station.
Yeah. It looks like maybe if we take a recess, I need to be more prompt on the exact time, because it says that I recessed for 15 minutes, but then it says I started 3 minutes early, so I don't want to do that. So remind me, if we go by this clock, I need to stick to it. It says that I recessed for 15 minutes, but then reconvened 3 minutes before the 15 minutes was up, so I don't want to make a habit of that.
Well, it's no big deal. We didn't have the people here then, so we took time.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, whatever you want to do.
yeah.
But I don't think it's an issue.
Okay.
Do you?
No, I mean, I just don't want it to appear that way continually in the minutes. Okay, I don't see anything really that,
I don't either, they look fine to me. I'll make a motion to approve, the June 10th, 2019 minutes.
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye. I'll
Minutes approved.
also make a motion to approve the June 13th, 2019 special meeting we had. We had a meeting Thursday, if you guys don't know, we were doing 2 a week here lately because we had quite a bit of business we were catching up on and things to discuss. And on the 2013, we really discussed dealing with Mr. Walter on for one thing, on the EMS, on the transition he's going to do going in there. Also, a job description of Director of Public Works, Highway Department job description, and some evaluations. So that's why we met last Thursday. I think we're going to meet Wednesday too this week, right?
Yes, Wednesday.
So we're
this
doing
week.
we have just a lot of stuff, and but we're catching up.
Also, so we can make phone calls in between.
Yeah, and so anyway, that's why we met Thursday, and I saw approve make a motion to approve the June 13th, 2019 special meeting minutes.
I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved.
Do we need to do anything on this?
No, that's just for our information.
Okay.
And we will have Mr. Grace here first, so I guess we have a few minutes to discuss anything that needs brought before. I will say, are we having, that woman's not coming today from that other company, or Thursday or Wednesday? She is? Okay. So I did talk to Haskell County, who has Hub for their benefits company, and they said they really like it. They're a county of only 4,000, but she said it costs them $1,000 a month, but they're basically hands-free on the entire benefits portion of the HR service. So I think that that definitely is something we can consider, except we can compare it to the percentage that Mr. Was it Day? Day Insurance? Yeah.
And we haven't
heard the third company yet, but right. And I did not call Gary County. I will, I guess. I wanted to call the county that was our size. So, and that clerk is feeling overwhelmed with that because they still have HR in her office. It's only her and one other person, and they're slightly bigger than us, not much. But she was saying,
who is this?
The clerk from Haskell County.
Oh, Haskell.
And she said she would be appreciative if they moved HR out of her purview because it does kind of complicate things for her office, not only with time constraints, but then all of the public perception on dealing with HR falls on her as an elected official. And that is difficult as a one-person show. So it's probably good that we're moving in the direction of taking HR out of the clerk's office, but we probably just need to watch the finances of it and not overspend, So I believe Mr. Grace is here. Don, is he out in the hall? Can you see him? I thought he walked past. Hello, come
Good
down,
morning.
please.
Come on up if you want to. We're ready.
Oh, okay. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
John?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Could you pass me a pen, please?
What?
Pass me a pen, please. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yes.
We were just wanting to basically go over where we're at with Lincoln Park Manor with you and
Good.
status of, yeah, we might turn that off.
It's hard to hear
Hard
with
to
that.
hear, yeah. And first of all, I guess what do you have, like 33 patients or residents now?
30, I think 31 today.
And I wanted to update you. We've worked. I know the roof had been leaking.
Right.
I've gotten with Don and we've worked as the new. There's a new adjuster right at the state, Don, and the insurance company.
The insurance company has a new adjuster.
Yeah, so that's why there's been a slowdown in this.
Okay.
And so we get with them, and they're getting with Ray Roofing to fix that roof.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, so that's going on. They're going to probably go down into the ceiling tiles where there's, I know, concern of mold and this and that. So that's coming. We're working on it, pushing it. I called them several times. Seems like you have to stay on top of it.
Right.
Or they let it slide. And also, I've got with this.
So they're gonna. Did you say they're gonna kind of look in the attic?
Yeah, they're gonna go down in there, and fix not just
look
the roof.
at that.
They have to redo that whole
Okay.
inner guts in there.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
someone
know.
had been mentioning mold.
Mold.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's there or not.
Well,
but-
and you guys, I was there before, and water's running down and coming out of light. I think some of the lights shorted out. And
Yeah.
And so there's some damage there, and that does need. But anyway, we're looking into that. Okay.
Good.
And also with the fire doors, I contacted this DH Space people who've
Yeah.
been dealing with this a year ago. I think we got with them last year. This Ashley Sperry estimator. I got back with her, and they needed this Eric Johnson Mayfield to give these, I don't know if it's blueprints or it's a layout of the facility so they could determine which fire doors needed and how the construction was with the door frames and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this guy hadn't got back, so I'm getting with Johnson and then Sperry to get them going with all that. Because I know that was a concern of yours, and
Right.
that's been slowed down here, and we're going to try to get that
And
fixed.
what company is that? I know-
Well, there's a DH Space. That's the ones who's going to do the.
Last year, the commission approved that bid, and it never
We
happened.
approved it, it dropped. It just fell.
We approved it, and I believe you had Mr. Babcock employed, and there was not follow through. In fact, he did come back to the commission, Mr. Babcock, and say that he needed fire ratings on the walls where the doors are being installed. And I advised him to get that from the architect that we paid.
Okay, right.
And I have not heard back since.
And that
Okay.
architect's that Johnson there.
Eric
So-
Johnson.
So I've dealt with them, and they're supposed to get the paperwork to this Ashley, what's her name there, that DH Space. So they're gonna get going here on the fire doors too and all that stuff, okay? And we had the bid, there was like
They got-
20.
They're out of Wichita office?
I don't know if it's Wichita or Kansas
Oh,
City.
okay.
I just called her.
Okay.
I never asked her exactly where that's at, okay?
Gotcha.
So we're pursuing this stuff. I know
Okay.
we need fixes, but
Now, who is Ashley Sperry?
she's the estimator for that DH Space.
Okay,
I talked to her, the one that's gonna do the fire doors.
Right,
The actual doors. And the other, whatever else is needed there. They have a list, an itemized list there.
Okay.
And I could give you a copy of that if you want.
yeah, we probably should have, and
That
then,
shows you, we're pushing this and,
and I think, this would be something we'll just
Yeah,
have to
and we
check
should-
out with the fire marshal.
right,
Just
okay.
to make sure
Well, I
that,
think, don't they probably have to coordinate with the fire marshal when they're doing the installation and all that, right? To make sure
Yeah.
everything's up to code and all
yeah,
that?
Well, we
yeah,
approved the highest rating doors, so there isn't
Okay.
anything higher than that.
shouldn't be.
But is there,
Problem.
when you do something like that though, is there a recertification by the state on something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to check on that.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's where we're at here, and we want to talk to you about our future. You
Good.
know, you've been working
Good.
here several years, and
Yeah.
we were having the issue with your rent.
Right,
Not paying the
right.
rent, going over a year.
Yeah.
What's the status of that? And,
Right.
and if we, and also on some accounts payable issues, what's your position on that stuff?
Okay.
Do you plan to pay that or not, or what?
Well, I'd like to work something out. I really
Okay.
would, okay? And,
Okay.
uh,
Because,
If I may preface the conversation,
Yeah, okay.
that a few pieces of correspondence have come to us.
right,
One of which has been suggesting that the commission made promises to do certain things that have not been done to the nursing home.
Okay.
Which, if that's true, then I think you need to provide us the documentation of that, because I do not remember these things, and if your company is claiming that the commission did not come through with something that was agreed upon, then that needs to be documented and substantiated, because as far as I'm concerned, we have done the renovation. That was all to be worked out internally with the companies that won the bids, and then your management staff. So the commission was doing nothing more than paying the bills for that. And I believe that there was another piece of correspondence that insinuated that because certain rooms were unavailable during the renovation, that was a reason that the rent was not being paid. And again, the internal coordination of how that renovation was to happen was completely up to the workings of who works there and who you have managing, and then who the company was doing the project. That wasn't on the commission to coordinate. And that would also be a question that goes back to Eric Johnson.
okay.
Because he was heading
Okay.
that. So if there is a problem with the way that the renovation happened, and there were rooms that were supposed to be available that weren't, then that needs to be addressed with Mr. Johnson, and we paid him to do that job. So that needs to be
the
reevaluated.
same guy here.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
He was the one coordinating
See,
the
I
entire
didn't-
renovation.
Yeah, I didn't know
We
anything.
paid him to be the contractor.
Okay.
And at some point, I'd like to request an executive session so we
Okay.
can go over some financial things.
Okay.
So,
Well, I have
What-
you
what's
on
your-
from 10:15 to 10:45, so
okay,
we still
so
have.
whatever you like.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't we discuss?
One thing I
Yeah.
was thinking here is that, as you know, I think communication is important on these fixes, on these items, and it would be helpful, at least to us, if we could kind of come up with a clear understanding of, okay, what's the county pay
Yes.
for? What do we pay for?
Right.
Well, have you?
And-
We've
Yeah.
addressed that there's no appendix A to the lease.
That was in that appendix A, the original lease. There was supposed to be,
The
says.
lease has an appendix A
if you
mentioned,
look at
and
the
then
yeah.
there's no appendix A,
There was never,
Oh.
nothing put in.
In other words,
which
we
would be this. What you
Yeah,
just
which
That's the
would
kind
be
of
what
thing.
this is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That way then we don't have misunderstandings.
Yeah.
You know what you guys pay for, we know what we pay
And-
for. That because each week.
Yes.
We deal with some issue like that.
And we're willing to pay rent if we can kind of get this worked out so we have a clear understanding, first of all, who pays for what, And then secondly, how do we communicate with each other so that if we have something come up, we don't have like what happened here with the fire doors. I mean, sounds like part of it was our fault. Maybe some of it was yours, but it doesn't matter. The point is that we didn't get it done.
Yeah, it needs fixed.
And we need to fix it. And that's what I'd like to do for the future is to say, okay, here's how we should handle things. You want, should we come up here every month and kind of give you a list? And then we have an update. How do we handle emergencies? You know, let's say that we had all of a sudden something in the building needed an emergency. I think it used to be we'd get a hold of Terry. And
The chair.
and he
I
would-
think it was the chair at the time.
yeah, the chair, okay.
Uh-huh.
But those kinds of things, and if we can get that worked out, I think we all be happier.
Be better, yeah.
The other thing is that, you know, we're just continuing to focus on doing a good job for the people who live there, the residents, continuing to, we have a new administrator, as you know, we're making some changes, but I think they're for the positive. And we're going to stay focused on, you know, doing a good job for the residents. And then we would just like to have a good working relationship with the county and be able to handle some of these maintenance kinds of things.
Do we think on assisted living that we could maybe get that back open if we could get more people in there?
Well, certainly.
Obviously that's, but then,
Yeah.
does that need to be promoted more by you or by us and advertised? Because I hear surrounding areas are
Yeah.
full assisted living, and you know we can hold up to what 9, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you would say maybe some of those rooms maybe need
They need a facelift,
fixed
yeah.
up, refurbished. But
Yeah.
I don't know, is that a plan? Do you do that, or where are we at in the status of assisted living?
Well-
anything different?
Nothing different. I was asking Beth what the census has been, and we've pretty much been 5 people in assisted living for a long time now. Before I took it over, I don't know if they ever got to 9. I don't have. I could go back and look, but it's very hard to staff it at 5.
Yeah.
And what we ran into was, it used to be that the state, the Department on Aging, would allow us to not have staff at night over there. And that was for several years. And so all of a sudden, they then said, no, you can't do that. You have to have a staff person around the clock. Now, even though the building is connected, and what in the past, we would have someone walk through there at night, you know, every few hours. So that added cost to the operation.
Yeah,
but-
I know, you got a full-time nurse there, right?
Yeah,
That's more,
yeah.
more money.
And so if we could find, and one thing we've looked at as far as a workaround on that, if we could put in some cameras, and we think that the Department on Aging might accept that, which then would allow us to staff it a little differently. That's a possibility. But
If you put cameras in, maybe then you wouldn't need full
That's
24
right.
hour staff.
That's right.
Well, there you go. That would
I mean,
be,
so that's a possibility.
okay,
But
okay. Because it would be good to get that back open. I know
Yeah.
you have to financially deal with that. Yes. Once you leave, okay, we'll just, I guess we'll take a break.
okay,
Alexis with the
Okay,
baby here.
sure.
So,
that's fine.
would you want to take a break or? Because it's just me and him.
Yeah, no, I'm
isn't
sorry.
really the commission.
I'm sorry, I don't have my help today that I normally have, so give me 2 minutes. I'm just gonna go to the
Sure,
restroom.
sure.
Okay, apologize.
No problem.
Did you drive in today?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to meet with the staff when we get done.
How's your new administrator working?
I think good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't been up there since I met him with you.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah.
I haven't recently been up there.
No, I'm just impressed with how he's approaching things, and he's got the respect of the staff, and so we're pleased with him. He lives in Salina, and his wife is a activity director over in the nursing home in Salina. So, but they've taken some furniture out of the assisted living and put it over in the nursing home and kind of created a more nice living room over there, so that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so, yeah.
I don't know why, I know Alexis isn't here and I won't elaborate.
Yeah.
I don't know why this Doris issue
Oh, yeah.
died. I
I
mean,
don't- yeah.
I've just talked to him now and about, they were supposed to be emailing me some of this stuff and they haven't, so
Yeah,
I don't know, we'll have to get on them here.
yeah.
So,
Okay, thank you.
and we hadn't been talking much more, I just
Oh,
I've asked about
About
it.
the, assisted living and
Yes.
some of that, so,
So, I guess I would just like to say, as far as advertising goes, because you had mentioned that, and I think you mentioned it because it was mentioned maybe from you.
yeah,
There seems to be some communication issue on who's running the business.
yes.
I've had many people come to the commission, or me individually as a commissioner, and ask what we can do about
Right.
Lincoln Park Manor. We don't operate the business, and so I think it needs to be understood that you're fully responsible for all of the overhead that comes with operating the business.
Yeah,
That being said, that leads us to this issue
Right.
of who is responsible for what. So you have, I
Yeah.
see how you broke this down. You have county or tenant.
yeah,
And then, so under county, structural portions of the building, items attached to the building, glass, electrical systems, plumbing, hot water heater. I think we
Yeah.
understand all of that. Concrete, parking lots, sidewalks, etc.
yeah,
Tenant, full-time maintenance person to provide repairs, minor plumbing repairs, faucets, toilets, sinks, clean. Okay, this is where we have an issue.
okay,
Because we're getting bills from street plumbing for snaking drains. I think we kind of came to the consensus that since it's in the lease that the maintenance person would be there, if it's not a major clog that needs an actual plumbing repair and it can be snaked, that should probably
Okay.
be on the tenant.
okay,
Regular and ongoing cleaning of carpets, tiles, equipment, yes, cleaning, yes. And I will also say cleaning supplies have been billed to the county, which
Okay.
would go under tenant.
yeah,
County, items to comply with state, federal building codes, standards of safety, habitability, accessibility, including pertaining to the options of assisted living and skilled nursing. Yes. Tenant, equipment used in cleaning, such as tools, carts, cleaning equipment, buckets, mops, light bulbs, that's a tongue twister, soap, salt for water softener, etc. Right, so all the dispensable,
Yeah.
usable items and the cleaning equipment, I'd agree with that.
Now, there's some confusion, I guess, about
Beds,
nuts and bolts and
Hardware.
hardware stuff,
Hardware?
yeah.
like if a bed needs fixed,
Yeah, well, I think on the bed need fixed, I understand, we fixed that, but like if there's a faucet that needs fixed,
and
and that's where I get confused about,
the plumbing part.
Yeah.
Like if you need a new faucet and
Washer, yeah,
and you
something
gotta
like that.
install that.
We've
Yeah.
been paying for those. Though.
Okay, I
'Cause
didn't know.
we've paid for toilets, we've paid for faucets. I've seen that from
Okay.
the bills.
Yeah, that's part of the building and part of the.
but I
structure.
think-
But there are some things that went unbilled last year. If you look at the top of this invoice,
Yeah.
you can see that we're just receiving those bills now. It's several $100, well, $1,000 or more dollars worth of things, which I'm not disputing any of those because they look like parts that belong to
Right.
other items in the building that
Right.
we own.
Yeah. Well, I think the more clarity we can get, I think the
Yeah.
better off.
No, I agree.
Right,
I
right.
agree, that's
And
what
I'm
that
agreeing with the
appendix
list
is.
that you made.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
this all makes sense.
Now, we could maybe
Yeah.
add more to it or.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that.
No, that's good,
Yeah.
and that way we know where we stand on
Yeah.
this stuff.
So the county is responsible for the washers and dryers because we own those, correct?
Yes.
The beds, we own all the beds.
Yes.
And I was informed that we own all the mattresses or just 10, I think.
No, they own 10 mattresses.
Oh, we own all but 10.
You own 10 of them
I don't
mattresses.
know if they own the
Okay.
mattresses.
Whatever.
I just know they bought the mattresses.
All right.
Okay.
For the 10 beds that we bought.
So I guess we
Okay.
buy the mattresses, is that it?
Well, I don't know.
Or-
Well,
I
you
don't
did,
know.
it was half the beds you don't have mattresses, I don't know, because
Well, that came with the last purchase that she's saying the last owner didn't sell to the new owner,
Okay.
which you purchased from.
Okay. Sure.
I don't know about the,
But I know the repair items for the bed we pay for.
You have paid for
Yeah.
bedding repairs.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it has tables, chairs, and equipment, which we own most of that in there, I
Right.
assume. And then I've seen the inventory list, and I believe we own the dressers in the rooms
Okay.
and things like that.
Okay.
So most of the, what do I call it, furniture,
Yeah.
we own.
Right.
and really then, if the furniture breaks, it's our responsibility to fix it since we own it.
Well, here's the issue though. A lot of times a landlord doesn't provide the furnishings. You know, if you move into an apartment, let's say you don't necessarily rent the couch too. However, in this situation, we could discuss that. I
Yeah.
think the issue is there a demand for new? Is there a demand for a certain look? Is that all to be on the taxpayers to supply that? Because
I think all that falls in, what is the plan? You know, do we want to replace?
well,
you know,
the issue is when the county was renting to Mid-America, I believe it's called,
Okay,
which
yeah.
was pre-LPM,
Right.
a lot of those things were not then purchased by the new owner. So, Dawn, how did we discuss that? That
When they terminated the lease with Lincoln Park Manor,
with
Lincoln Park Manor was gonna move everything out or we could buy it. So
Mid-America.
that was the easier thing,
Mid-America,
yes.
okay, you said Lincoln Park Manor, but Mid-America.
When Lincoln Park Manor, or, yes,
Okay,
sorry, when
that's okay.
Mid-America, when we ended the contract with Mid-America to rent to Kristen Robinson and Lincoln Park Manor, we had to buy Mid-America all of the equipment, all of the disposable supplies, all of the food, and the van.
Who had to buy?
Lincoln County.
The county.
Oh, the county.
And Kristen was supposed to pay us back.
I see.
Okay, so the next owner was
And I
supposed to
think the
purchase the
disposal-
items that the county purchased with the transition of,
That's the only reason why we own the items.
okay.
Because she never paid for them.
Right, because a typical landlord situation is a shell. It's not necessarily a furnished, I mean, there are those situations, but we were providing the shell once upon a time, but now we own these additional pieces because we purchased them from someone who left. And that was never purchased then by the new operator.
Okay.
So we could have some more discussion on that,
Okay,
but I'll move
yeah.
on. Tenant does the landscaping and the mowing and the snow removal, and the county's responsible for fire equipment, sprinklers, contracts for lifts. Now, does that mean the special lifts, like for the beds,
Yeah.
for
That's
the
what we
people?
paid.
Yeah.
That's what we're billed
Yeah.
for that lift.
Okay, but we don't own the lifts. We do. Is
Oh.
that why we're paying the contract, because we own the
I
lifts?
think we lease it, don't we? We've got to pay a lease contract.
Again, we own the lifts because.
oh,
the
we-
Okay, that was part of it.
us.
Okay.
Part of
Oh,
the
okay,
consent.
okay.
So okay, smoke detectors, fire annunciator panels, nurse call systems, cameras, security equipment, generator, sewer pipes, roofing, paneling, and the exterior of the building and the ceilings. The tenant, items needing repaired that cost less than $1,000 and or can be repaired. Does that mean and can be repaired by the tenant?
Yeah. Or no, it's supposed to be
Items needing repaired that
that
cost
costs
less
less,
than
can be
$1,000.
repaired by the tenant, and then will be reimbursed by the county. Now,
Oh, I see.
I understand that was just a policy that has been in place.
Well, that wasn't in the lease, was it? I don't think.
I don't know.
You're just saying that's how they've been doing
That's
the
how
billing.
they've been doing it, but,
So we haven't paid to Lincoln Park Manor though. We've been just
You've
receiving
just been
the
paying the
invoices
bills.
here.
Okay.
They come
I
here
gotcha.
to the clerk's office and we've just been paying.
okay,
them.
okay, so
I
then,
think we prefer it that way. That way we
and you
have
just
the
pay
original
you pay the
receipt.
bill then, rather than reimbursed by the
Yeah,
county.
yeah. They just. I
Okay.
think someone like whoever's Mr. Shale. I think you have right now. He just
Jonathan,
go. Yeah,
yeah.
he would just
Yeah.
go up to
And then he goes to
or make a phone call to the
hardware
street or
store.
go up to yeah.
He's asked me several times because we had a door that was more expensive. And
Yeah.
And I said, go ahead, or no,
Yeah.
no, we
Okay.
approved it. We approved it here. That one door by the kitchen, and there's another one there I heard.
Yeah.
That may need repaired.
Yeah.
too.
So I would like to point out though, under tenant for cleaning,
Yes,
we have paid for the what do I want to call that?
the sewer, snake,
Oh.
No, not just the snake, the actual flushing of the system. What's that called?
The grease trap.
The grease
Grease
trap
trap.
Oh, the
cleaning.
grease trap,
grease-
okay.
The grease trap cleaning and the hood, the oven hood cleaning, we have been asked to pay for. And I think we sent that one back. Not sure if it came through again, but
Okay,
that is a condition of using the facility, which would be a cleaning issue, not necessarily a repair or maintenance issue. So I think that needs to be established under the cleaning.
okay,
And then under here you have no less than monthly, the tenant shall provide a list of items for repair pursuant to the understanding listed above. Landlord shall have 15 days which to notify the tenant of the plan for repair. I would like to say that we have open meetings and we get correspondence here.
okay,
It's kind of an inconvenience if we have to write back, so
okay.
if your maintenance man is willing to just make a quick appearance or even
Oh,
send in a
okay.
correspondence, then
Yeah.
we can deal with it in the meeting.
Or call us.
Okay,
I deal with Jonathan quite a bit.
Sure.
I get along with him good. I think he's a good employee for you.
yep. Sure,
In the emergency area.
But it was helpful, he came to the meeting here a couple weeks ago, and it was very helpful that he could explain kind of what he wanted to do about the mixer, et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
Then we made a decision here, and then it's not questioned because it's already been decided in the open meeting.
Okay.
And I understand certain things need to be done in between,
yeah,
but it was helpful when he came.
good.
And no one's been reporting the census to us. Do you
Okay.
have someone assigned to do that, or?
I mean, Beth keeps it.
Okay.
How often do you want it?
It was supposed to be monthly because
Okay.
that was the way that
Okay.
the rent was structured to
Okay,
correlate to the number in the census.
right, right,
In the event of an emergency, or if the tenant believes that the health and welfare of the residents is in jeopardy, tenant shall notify the county and seek immediate approval for actions. Agreed. Should the county not approve?
should that be the chair?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Should the county not approve of those items, the tenant may move ahead with those repairs as to protect the health and welfare of the residents. I think that's understood. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the budget issue. If there was something that we didn't have the money for, I mean, that's where we're going to run into a problem.
yeah,
If something gigantic occurred, since we have a line item specified for a specific amount, that may be questionable as to where we would pull that money from.
okay,
But I understand what you're saying. You're saying if there's something serious, they need to take action on it.
Yeah, we
and
need
it
to get
can't,
after it.
Can't wait for
Yeah.
approval.
like air conditioning. You see,
Right.
we need to make, we need
If it's
to,
100 out there,
We gotta move that day.
You gotta fix
Yes,
it.
We
you're
gotta
going to
fix it.
call and
Yeah.
have it, yeah.
Exactly. Or
addressed.
heater in the
Or
winter.
heater.
Yeah, if it's zero out, the heater clicks.
I think
Yeah.
to me it would be something more disastrous, like flooding of the kitchen with a main intake line would be something we may not be able to financially
Yeah.
do that day or make a
Yeah.
decision
It would
on.
be, issue based on
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any costs incurred by tenant for such repairs shall be applied dollar for dollar against the base rent due immediately following the date the date such costs were incurred. County owns the carpet machine and the buffer. The kitchen's dishwasher is leased from Ecolab and maintained by them. Are we paying that lease? I've never
I
seen
think
that.
we are,
You are. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. The ice machine is leased and paid for by Lincoln Park Manor, and the floor stripper and the low-speed scrubber are owned by Lincoln Park Manor. Well, that's good clarification. I just
Yeah.
had those two little
Yeah.
notes about the grease trap and
so, yeah, I can revise that and send you guys a copy.
Okay.
And then,
We
if you
can-
want us to go through some of the past stuff and try to maybe get a little bit more detail on some of these things, and then add that here, and then let's take another look at it.
and the inventory, maybe not as if your staff doesn't have enough to do, but it might be nice to have an updated inventory. We had asked Lincoln Park Manor prior
Okay,
and not ever really received
Sure.
a detailed update. There was some attention to it, but I don't know how specific it is right now.
I can get that.
Yeah. So the rent issue, again, I mean, I am concerned about that. I think that there was an agreement made, and it's increasingly concerning because the debt to the county that was incurred from the last owner, you then took on a portion of that by offering to increase your rent payments at a base rate, I believe it was $400 a month. So we haven't seen any of that, we haven't recuperated any of that, yet we're still expending our line item dedicated to that facility. And then the public backlash of saying that we're not doing enough it's a little,
Sure,
convoluted.
I hear you. When do you want to go into executive
We
session?
can do
Okay,
that. We
okay.
have, yeah.
Okay.
Would 10 minutes be okay? Because we have only
Yeah.
7, 8
I think
legitimate-
probably, yeah.
I'll make a motion here. Which one would it be?
It would be, this.
Okay.
Number 4.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session with the commission and Mr. John Grace for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing Lincoln Park Manor financial issues and to discuss data relating to financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships. To reconvene in the courthouse commissioner room following this executive session.
With.
With,
He's
Oh.
already put that.
Oh, I'm
already
sorry.
put it
I'm
in
sorry.
there.
Yeah.
No, with.
I'm
two-
sorry.
With,
You got it.
Okay.
I got you, with Commissioner and Mr. Grace.
Okay. Has been moved. Oh, I'll second. Has been moved and seconded for the executive session for financial information disclosure. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We will reconvene in 10 minutes.
Very productive.
That's good to talk.
And I will go through and revise that sheet a little bit
Yeah,
more.
if you would. Yeah, that looks good though.
And then,
I appreciate that.
and
We're
we'll
gonna
keep
we're gonna
in
name
touch.
this Appendix A,
Yeah.
and we'll attach
Yeah,
it to
this
the
is
lease
that-
when we agree.
yeah, that's
when
like
we
an
agree on it, we'll
appendix,
sign it.
Because that's what we wanted before.
Okay.
And I think you have a good outline there on that.
Good, thanks, guys.
And
Thank you
I'll keep
for
in
coming in.
touch, because obviously we gotta keep dealing with this stuff.
Yeah.
One way or another, what's gonna happen. My May's coming here, so something's gonna happen.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, John, for coming. Come on. Go ahead.
I shouldn't have given him my chair.
No, you should not have.
That's fine. You want that chair over there or this one?
I'll just take this one.
Been missing you. Next year, July, is it listening in? And it should
Is
be
this
Vancouver, right now.
telephone estimate before we switch over? Are we switching over?
I don't know that we've ever got to that point. I know I've ordered new phones.
I'll send
Oh, yeah?
Randy, how are you?
I just thought Don mentioned that we were gonna maybe save money if we did this switch over because we were talking about buying new phones and all that. And
We will, but we're gonna have to pay for the phones and things like that.
So that- yeah.
I told him to just kind of leave it where it's at.
And that difference will be, paid for in the first year. I got it. Yeah. Okay.
If they didn't.
Okay. Do you have anything for us besides the budget request?
That's it.
Okay, so we have the treasurer's office, budget request at a total of $112,420. That's for the 2020 proposed budget. The approved budget from 2019 was $109.24.
I am going to have an issue with computers. They're all on Windows 7. And they're getting old, so they're gonna have to be replaced. I was thinking like 2 at a time.
Out of
One
many?
out of motor B, out
Yeah.
of 6.
out of 6.
Out of 6.
2 at a time out of 6 is what you get. Like over a year, two.
But Next Tech is telling me that maybe I will compromise
By not
everybody else's
having-
computers, so I'm still thinking there should be some way to upgrade some of them without having to do the whole thing, and I'm not buying
Can
new
you call an
monitors
independent
and-
company besides Next Tech and just see what their opinion is?
Probably could.
It doesn't hurt to get information because sometimes they have their angle to pitch you a sale, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have the breakdown, just out of curiosity, of so last year's? I mean, I have last year's budget stowed away, but do you have like what you have here for the new budget proposal? Do you have the breakdown from last year's what it was?
No, I just have commodities, contractual, and telephone
Okay,
lumped together.
okay.
And a good portion of mine is postage, mailing, tax statements, and delinquent notices, and so on and so forth.
Is this Next Tech IT divided by department for one whole plan? Dawn, do you know, or do you know?
I pay, and then
That's
I pay
your
the
portion.
same amount out for motor vehicle. And they've done a couple of things to help me out, but for the most part, I've had to pay extra. So I'm thinking,
Is your anticipated revenue taken out of this one? Or did you do, or did we just do that on the budget?
the only revenue that I would have that's not everyone's tax dollars is the motor vehicle county fees.
That's what I'm saying, right here.
Uh-huh.
Did
Of
you
which
take
I
this number
usually-
from this number, or what do you do
No,
with that?
no.
Where does that go?
That is motor vehicle fees, and usually I turn over $20,000 to you at the end of the year. So that's
Into capital outlay?
to county general.
Goes to county general to help us fund the general.
That's part of the budget. You budget
20 out of, so where's the
for
other
me
12 go?
For my expenses for motor vehicle. That's the report I give you every quarter,
Okay,
showing you how much I paid for conferences and supplies and so forth.
okay. But that's not, but you don't budget that in and then show a deduction from here.
No. Motor vehicle is totally separate, but just thought I
Is
would
it,
show you.
is it a separate fund? I mean, a separate bank account, or is
Not,
it just a
not
separate
anymore.
fund?
It's a separate fund.
Okay.
It used to be a separate bank account.
How long ago was that?
20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
long
Never
time
mind.
ago.
Don't go back that far. I can't. My brain can't wrap around that. Not today. Okay. I don't have any questions.
Are your computers, are they specialized for your job? Or are they, in other words,
They just have to be compatible with movers.
with your software? I mean, yeah. You have specialized software, obviously, for all your taxes
Motor
and
vehicle.
motor vehicle stuff, obviously, right? And they're all networked together. You have 6 computers.
And driver's license. But
And driver's
it's
license,
okay.
too.
It's okay.
So if you're saying if you try to replace, say, 2 at a time, you're afraid, or they're telling you the software may not be compatible with the 2 new ones and the 4 old ones.
They're telling me because I still have Windows 7, I could infect the rest of the
Oh.
network that has Windows 10.
Infect it.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm
Unless
not
there's
a
a virus or
technology
something,
person.
I don't know how it would affect anything. It may not be compatible just
And
because
why
software don't work.
why
together.
can't you take an old computer and
Update
update it to Windows
program.
10? Why can't you do that?
Yeah, you should be able to.
I think you should just call maybe 1 or 2 other independent resources
You deal
with
all
some
this.
IT knowledge and see what you can figure out. Because if we just go with the company that's already servicing us, of course they want us to do the entire. And I think you're smart for saying there might be another option.
Yeah.
And you use Next Tech then for the software?
I have until my contract ends next month.
So our capital improvement, Dawn, didn't we have something in there about purchasing for the courthouse equipment? I mean, that could technically, we have some available funds if we need to do that. Okay.
So you're thinking looking for some.
But you think that everybody's,
Oh, go ahead.
Possibly.
well, she has her phone budget in here, like 14, 15. If every courthouse department budgets their same telephone budget as they did last year, you think that's going to cover the purchase of the new phones within that? Oh, great. That's great. Okay.
So you may review for different software out somebody besides Next Tech? And then maybe you would deal with them on these new computers too? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
So you're not
I'm
sure
thinking-
on any guess on what the value would be for a computer?
They haven't got back to us.
No.
I think we're gonna do minis on the counter
Okay.
and then towers on the desk.
Okay.
But no, I have not got a quote yet. They were
Okay.
here, when, 2 weeks ago? Next time?
Next time.
All right.
Haven't got anything
Thank
yet.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry to rush you off, but we're a little behind, so
No problem.
I appreciate that.
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Services for the elderly, no levy. So last week we had discussed some of the issues and how things have kind of evolved with the mill levy money, and I have actually had a couple of requests into the county attorney about details of that money as far as how it pertains to the expenses, what's justifiable, etc. And we still haven't gotten really a report on that, so I would say that's definitely something we need to consider going into this next budget year. You know, we're working on the budgets now, and what we do have is we still have our total amount in reserve funds from last year's collection of $75,000 out of the 2 mil. Some of the comments that I made is I've done some comparative research with other counties, and I use Ellsworth as an example because it's much bigger than us as far as population, but the resources that they're using are similar. And for example, the distribution to the senior centers comes directly from the commission, and the board that is the council, serving as the council on aging in Ellsworth, has hired someone who also does all their logistical planning for their public transportation in Ellsworth. So that being said, I've kind of called into question what is the purpose of the LCCA serving as an employer, and I'm assuming maybe some of you are here to address that, and I'm wondering, Becky, if you had some comments.
Well, okay, so
You could come up front, Becky.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Please. Also, we want to talk to you about, you're obviously now taking over the LCCA director and
right.
the senior center director, and I was wanting to know how that's going with you, because you're 2 tasks and the differences between them. So some of us maybe don't understand necessarily all the differences.
Well, I think that the main thing is the goal for both the Lincoln Senior Center and the Lincoln County Council on Aging is one audience, and those are seniors. The Lincoln Senior Center solely has to do with the meals program. I'm hired from Manhattan of North Central Flint Hills Agency on Aging to run the meals program. The Senior Center supplements my income because they only pay minimum wage. And you also help with like all the expenses that come along with doing that. With the meals program, we on average touch, well, our numbers kind of went down a little bit. I think we're between 55 to 60 every month of meals that come in. The people who come in, I probably have on average
55 to 60 people.
60 people.
Yeah, if you said
60.
meals, but it's meals every day, but it's for that many people.
That many people, sorry.
You average
That's
about
okay.
60 a day?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, that's either home delivery. We have a home delivery service. We deliver to the high rise.
Yeah.
Some people that live at the high rise come and eat in. And then we also have people that get carryouts. And then we also started, with the help of the Lincoln County Council on Aging, meal delivery to Barnard. We're really trying to get Beverly, and I know we've always been trying to go with Sylvan too, but it just hasn't worked out.
Sure.
Where
How many are going to Barnard? Still just 2?
3. Like we have 3 today. I mean, if you've watched the obituaries, there's kind of been a lot of death there.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was like 2 and 3 last year.
Yeah, at the peak time, I think we had 7,
Okay.
and then quite a few of those, and
Okay.
so we try.
Oh, sure.
And they've changed what they pay out for that. I think we give a donation to the lady that delivers of $100 a month. So we both focus on seniors, but the Lincoln County Council on Aging, I did this for you. This is kind of the projects that we've done since I've started, and one of our big projects that I want to work on
Thank you.
with you willing to let us is senior isolation. I feel like that I've had some networking with some people that I've met. The Senior Companion Program is something I know that I had remember whenever the last director of Lincoln County Council on Aging had talked about this, and we had discussed how I thought this would be such a great idea, because the people who were coming in the senior centers every day and partaking in those activities, eating those meals, those aren't the seniors that we really need to hit in this county. The ones are the ones that are at home, not getting out, maybe not having family close by that checks on them. So those are some of the things. And then I did add February, March, April, and May. June, it's not all the way over yet, but I did all the activities that I've done as the senior coordinator. And I know that in the past this was a full-time position 40 hours a week. I am only doing this for 3.5 hours a day in the afternoons. So, I mean, I'm very proud of all the information that I've learned and how I've, my success stories. I tell my board when I go, because I'm really excited about this one lady that I've been working with for a month. She didn't turn in she never had to turn back in the paperwork from CanCare. And so she didn't, and then she lost services and lost assistance with her services. So we've been fighting for months, and she got it back on, and she actually got a refund. So it was like my big Yahoo moment of, yay, this is all worth it. I feel like I'm making a difference. So it's kind of hard. I know that Randy says that to me, like, well, I just don't know the difference. Well, the senior center is strictly meals.
Don't you have some programs with the senior center?
Yeah,
Well,
I have a
yeah,
question
but
about that.
the
Cards
senior
and
center,
stuff,
North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging makes me do 227, 2 nutritional programs, 2 educational programs, and 7 recreational.
During a month.
Or during a month.
Okay.
227, yeah.
Okay. So here's my question. If the Lincoln Senior Center is the meals program, we're using our mill levy tax to subsidize that meal program to a certain extent. Whatever the additional pay is for you, whatever the, we're paying the electric, the overhead, all of that to have that meals program there. But the meals I know, and the basic minimum wage is paid by the state program.
Yes.
Okay. So what else does Lincoln Senior Center do or output from there?
But I don't understand what you're saying. Like,
Well, you're paying for you, but also, you got how many cooks? 2 other cooks?
No, I'm saying outside of the meal program itself. I understand that the meal program is all wrapped up.
The thing about the meals program is, which I would feel like it would be a struggle at the Sylvan Senior Center, because people come in for the meals program, and so then I automatically,
they're already there.
They're already there to
present
do
other
the programs,
information with, yeah.
and so that's where I bring in. But I have to do them, but I always do way more than what my minimum requirement is. But that's where I had Patterson Pharmacy came in and did a program that I thought was amazing on prescription management, which I had no idea that they offered this service locally, where it's pretty much they make pill boxes in little dispensaries that where you don't have to think about it, or you don't have
every day sorted.
Yes,
for
they
you.
come in they can do them in these little packages that are
You're
just
not
like kind of a
confused.
roll, or it looks like kind of like a 3-ring notebook, and it has all your days. And they do that for free here at Patterson Pharmacy, and she had contacted me, and I was like, that sounds like a great program. And so then I contacted Shirley and told her, hey, because sometimes I try things out on the Lincoln Senior Center, and if I feel like the seniors really enjoyed that or they really learned something from that, then I spread the word. And so I had gotten with her and emailed back with Amy from Patterson Pharmacy, and I was like, would you come to Sylvan and do this program? Because I think that they would really love this at one of their meetings, because you have no idea. And some of it, for me, I was thinking of the caregivers, who that's one less thing that they have to do to take care of their loved ones to try to keep them in the home. So.
Okay, so again, though, just back to my question, outside of the meal program, I see that you're incorporating other things because people are coming to the meal program, but what is the output of Lincoln Senior Center? I mean, I know they get donations, I know they have
memorials. Is that what you're talking
money.
about?
There's other money circulating there besides just the mill levy money. But what I'm seeing is all the overhead that's being expended for the Lincoln Senior Center is all dedicated to the meal program, in which you're doing a great job incorporating other educational things. But that's part of your task from the North Central Flint.
Right.
So what else does Lincoln Senior Center do totally separate from the meal program? Is there anything? I mean, I'm not aware of anything. That's why
I don't know what. No, I mean, like we do fundraising. If that's what you're talking about, we did the scrapping with
fundraising?
yeah.
Okay.
We just did the scrapping with seniors where
Okay.
we collected, and I think what were we over 1,000?
Yeah.
I think we raised over 1,000 on that. Every year we go to the city council and ask them for money and to fund something this year. Last year we did bathroom remodels. We painted and did update. Oh,
You have a comment in the back.
Oh, yes.
I think it's important, the way I look at it, all the fundraising, all that stuff goes for the maintenance of the building.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have been, well, right. Don't you have like a capital outlay account of sorts where you've been having a savings that I think someone mentioned that you were going to redo the back entrance?
Well,
or-
That's-
what that all goes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Right
Is it
now,
fast?
I just call it capital
right
outlay.
now
that's
we're
what we call it.
collecting money to redo the floor in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
Floor in the
Stuff
kitchen.
we're
Right.
trying to get
Yeah,
money.
yeah. Any additional
Yeah.
improvements that you want to make, you want to make sure you
Yeah,
can
we
fund
do it at our own, like
Yeah.
the fundraising and our own Well, we
But
have.
that doesn't subsidize the meal program,
No.
other than it provides a
Uh-huh.
place for it to be.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Yeah, I'm only asking because in years prior, there was this big issue on what the participation meant at the senior center. And so basically, the primary participation at the senior center is for the meals program, in which they're being serviced by other things that you're bringing
Right.
in. But you're also getting paid to do that because it's part of your requirement as the meals. What's your position? Meals,
Site manager.
Site manager. Okay. So, just to follow that line of thinking, when you say that the LCCA has a different purpose, I guess anything that the LCCA would be doing out of the Lincoln Senior Center, they would also be doing potentially out of the Sylvan Senior Center. Or as they're doing their own individual things out of the office, let's say
Right.
at the Lincoln Senior Center, it's still a potential to do those same functions out of the other location or out of the Senior Center itself. I mean, I guess to me, there is this isolation breakdown of the LCCA needs its own phone line, needs its own office, needs to pay rent. Why wouldn't the senior centers just let the LCCA exist there in both places anytime they want?
Well, and I don't think
Do you
that
see what
there
I'm
was I don't think there was any. The Lincoln County Council on Aging, when they came to the senior center, they offered to pay rent. We didn't I don't think you did you? I mean, if I remember correctly.
No, yeah, and I'm not saying that Lincoln Senior Center is demanding rent. I'm suggesting if you read back into the minutes, which I read all the way back into the 80s. Okay, the group that got together to be the LCCA, they had their schedule was to meet at the senior centers, both of them, every other month. So 1 month they'd have a meeting here, 1 month they'd have a meeting there, 1 month they'd have a meeting. Then they would alternate back and forth because the idea was they're congregating in the place where the seniors have a hub of activity.
Well, and I don't think you're opposed to any of that.
Uh-huh.
No, we're not opposed to that now.
Uh-huh.
Now, 12 years ago when our coordinator, they had a problem over there, they didn't want him to come over there. Yeah, don't say no, because that's the truth. She would not go over there.
Well,
Yeah, but
yeah.
don't say when they had a problem over there, because the problem was not in Sylvan Grove.
No.
Well, Sylvan Grove didn't want to.
Yeah.
Want
So, we just want to clarify.
Yeah,
They didn't want her over
he
there.
acknowledged that.
No, she was welcome anytime. She
So,
made a choice.
okay, all I'm getting at with this discussion is the circulation of the rent money, which I don't agree with, because all the money's coming from the commission. It's all taxpayer money. To ask one organization to budget rent money to pay to the other organization that's being fully subsidized by the same mill levy, to me, is really one of those things that we need to...
You don't think there aren't additional expenses at the senior center because we stay open another 3.5 hours a day for electricity, gas.
Absolutely,
all
but
that-
what
all
I'm
that
saying-
stuff.
what
And that's
I'm-
why the rent, we're talking about the rent that they were willing to pay
I
because they're
absolutely-
occupying a room in our facility that can't be used nowhere else. I don't know whether time.
And think about whenever you had a separate facility that you were paying rent and utilities.
Well, that
and all
was
that.
just a little, that was a little power trip that happened and went awry. I totally understand what you're saying about the additional expenses for the bill. What I'm saying is then the Lincoln Senior Center should request that in their budget. Because then the commission knows all that you'd have
What's
to do.
the difference, whether it's paid
There's a
to-
huge difference because the only reason to request the rent separately for a third-party organization is to substantiate the need for all of its own individual expenses.
Well, they have the privacy, Alexis. Becky cannot talk to somebody in front of everybody else, because that's a HIPAA violation. She can't do that. So we have to have that office space for privacy.
Well,
That-
I guess what I'm suggesting is if the LCCA was that flexible, then the person who's employed by the LCCA would be more than willing to go and meet someone at any other location. So to justify the need of a particular location with its own individual expenses, that doesn't really serve everyone. That only serves
Yeah, but
some
I'm not
particular
saying
one.
you're saying for me, would I go to Sylvan? I mean, if somebody wanted to come meet with me, absolutely. If they couldn't make it over, or,
I actually think the LCCA should take it upon themselves to commit to serving both senior centers simultaneously.
But my thing
Absolutely.
is the
We've
only
tried
thing
that.
is the
Now what
activities from the
Now
Lake Sylvan Senior Center. A lot of them are during the morning. There is a one night your potluck that you have,
Yeah.
but ideally, my first and foremost job is
No, you
North
can't
Central.
leave.
I
I'm not
can't
suggesting
leave.
you leave
You
your
did.
site
You're
manager.
right.
I have to do my
Yeah.
I have to do my
Yeah,
North
that's
Central
your
foothills.
problem.
We have a comment or a
I
question.
have a purely theoretical question. But if the Sylvan Senior Center was willing to host the LCCA, and let them use our facilities at no expense whatsoever, using our copier, our phone line, because you're serving the Sylvan Senior Center. Would the LCCA be willing to do that?
Oh, like move the whole Lincoln County Council on Aging over to Sylvan?
Because it's free.
Or share it? I mean, I could see it meeting both places, or moving to some, but to me, that council is designed to serve those centers. So I don't understand why they're being charged.
It's to serve those centers. It's to serve the seniors. There's
Okay,
people who aren't
okay, so it's
involved.
to serve the seniors.
And that's where I said the people who are going to these senior centers every day and eating the meals, those aren't the target audience
Right.
for the Lincoln County
I
Council on Aging.
misspoke. I agree. The purpose of the LCCA is to serve all the seniors who want to be served in Lincoln County.
That's right.
But if that can be done with free, if the senior centers are willing to say, sure, use our facility, use our phone, you can use this space. To me, that would save a lot of money.
Once in a while, like you would, not how often you require her to come over there 2 times
What
a week?
I'm saying is that I do not see why we are tripling up on these expenses. Why not let the
Where's triple?
Where's triple?
Sylvan Center, Lincoln Center, LCCA. Why don't we have the two centers paying for these things and the LCCA working within the two centers at no expense?
We have a question in the back.
No, I was just gonna say, I think right now what the Council on Aging does is try to assume a share of the utilities. They did that as opposed to rent, because as soon as they were paying rent, then they were responsible for insurance. So they were just trying to circumvent that, assume a share of the responsibility for the utilities, which is what, $100 a month they contribute. But the other thing is that there's an amazing amount of that has accumulated for the Council on Aging.
Amazing amount.
There's a need for an
A
office.
space.
somewhere.
You're saying
Yeah.
storage space.
Because there's
storage
files
space.
upon files
Uh-huh.
of
And
documentation
that's not
on.
to say that those can't be gone through over time, but right this minute,
And the physical
There's some-
location of the hub of operations, I understand that. I think more what's being called into question, not because of you, but just because of the historical,
divide.
yes, and the historical activities going on with the LCCA. It seemed like it was always functioning as this mysterious, separate entity that was paying a full-time position to do something that was never tracked on paper. Okay? So I'm not accusing you of that at all. I'm saying historically that's the understanding. So how do we come to an agreement for the seniors that there's a purpose to the LCCA, and what is that specific purpose? And you're saying right here at the table that it's to serve the people that don't come to the senior centers.
Yeah, that's how I view it, that's our target audience.
But can those people who don't come to they're not members of the senior center, they don't participate in senior center activities, can they come to the senior center to see you, to get your service to them? Is that the location that they can come to?
Well, or they could call. A lot of people just call and have questions, or I have people that are not senior center participants every day, and I've helped with a person that's getting ready to, you've seen my list, that's getting ready to retire, has a question as to where to go. Or I filled out this paperwork, I got this scam, what do you think about this? Is this a scam, Becky? Is this something real? It's been astonishing
Do
to
you
me.
ever go to their houses to meet with them personally that way? Or?
Well, I haven't ever had to.
Never had well, they got telephones, right?
Right, yeah.
Or email or whatever.
I feel like it's...
Let me ask you this, just out of a simple idea of consolidation. Is there a reason that they can't call the Lincoln Senior Center phone number instead of a separate number to the LCCA?
I don't think that there's a reason why they can't.
And I saw like a separate internet bill, I think. Is that...
Well, the deal with the internet is when Eagle Communications came to town with the fiber, the senior center was one of they picked us, I guess, and we have...
Well, they had to have so many volunteers to want to come through, so that
Yeah.
counted as two, the LCCA and the...
No, at the time, they were moving to the other building, so I think that's why... Like,
Okay.
they had it in their plans to move.
Just, like, from our
But
end
for
of the
us, like,
table,
we
from
don't...
our end of the table, it's like, well, can't you share a phone line, or can't you share an internet line, or can't...
Well, I'm not saying that we can't,
Can't
but
someone call the Sylvan Senior Center to be able to eventually get to you? I'm saying you're not always available because you have other duties and they've hired you as just part-time so that you can fill out the rest of your day.
Right.
And I think that's an efficient concept, but some of the mention of overlapping expenses 2 phone lines to the same building for the same person who is you is kind of just crazy.
I mean, I guess it's like anything. I mean, like,
Not if the taxpayers pay for.
Right.
No, but it's still the same thing.
No, it's
No, it's
not,
not.
because I'm not asking someone else to pay for it.
Gosh darn it.
Wait, I will ask Becky this.
Apples
How
with apples.
busy is the senior center phone in the morning when people are
super
calling?
busy, super busy.
Yeah.
But she's not
I mean-
supposed to be working for the Council on Aging in the morning.
No. So they call, it goes
Yeah.
to the other phone and they leave messages and I call them in
They
the
leave
afternoon.
messages and then they
Which would work with one.
return it.
Yeah. With one, but no, it wouldn't because I would have Council on Aging and Senior Center
People
at
call
the,
in to order meals.
Right.
I probably
And
have
that phone is
15,
busy then.
Phone calls in the morning.
yeah, and they're like back to back to back to back to back. And if anybody
So what
wants
about
to
the
talk.
internet then? Can we explain the internet line?
Well, the internet's kind of a little odd right now because the Lincoln Senior Center is still receiving free Wi-Fi and TV service from Eagle Communications because we were their
As a
hotspot.
promotional thing.
Yes. So we have yet to. I mean, I hope
But
they don't hear
eventually
this.
we'll have to cover it.
I hope they don't hear it. I hope they've forgotten about us.
Maybe
But
comments.
so it was really hard for whenever they were setting up the phone line for Lincoln County Council on Aging to be like, well, do you need internet? Well, no, because we'll just use the senior centers.
Because it wasn't a legitimate expense then, but it will be. I
Right.
mean,
So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have 2 questions. One is, if the LCCA was only open from 1 to 3, then people would only be able to call from 1 to 3, or there'd have to be a message.
It's actually 1 to 4:30.
But it doesn't matter. My point is just that I still don't see why there need to be 2 phone lines, because a message is taken, or it goes to an answering machine, or they have to call during LCCA hours.
The other thing is, if you save some of that money with those additional expenses, it can be put towards mileage
Right.
and the other programs that you're actually. That's where I had a question for the county attorney. You know, it's like, are all these expenses legitimate to pay for the overhead of the operation of something versus paying for the program itself? Because if you have to pay a Tai Chi instructor or whatever that's producing a program,
We don't have to pay it.
well, it's a hypothetical. If you have to pay someone to come in to do
Anything.
right, real estate retirement planning, et cetera, those programs then are available for the people to come in and sit in on because it's being paid for.
Right.
So isn't it worth consolidating some of your overhead expenses to have that money available for that? Because I'll tell you right now, I really don't have an intention of upping to the 2 mills that it once was.
Right.
We've had an increase in valuation, we've seen a decrease in expenses, and these are the kind of things that we really need to keep a clamp on. And I appreciate you doing a lot with not as much time as was given to,
Previous.
with not very much output.
Right.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's refreshing. So I just
And
wanna-
I'm not saying that, and I think we've even discussed it. The senior center, like, I don't even know who. Everything blurs together whenever you have all these different meetings. But having one where you answer at Lincoln County Senior Services, and then you know if it's somebody that calls and says, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about my this
Yeah.
Medicare. Can I call you back at 1 o'clock?"
Yeah.
You know,
with
so-
one phone line, can't you have
Call it
two?
Lincoln County Senior Services.
Yeah.
And then you could merge them together. And we're not against the Council on Aging or the Senior Center. Her and I, we've got this.
Because it's-
we just want to make it simpler
Right.
to understand and work together for everyone.
Because I think
That's
with
all.
that consigning the phone,
No,
what you're
Sylvan's
saying
different. You
40.
guys are seniors.
I think the Lincoln Senior Center has a cell phone because a landline was
Oh, instead of a
astronomical.
landline. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I just have another question I need clarified. I guess I don't really understand why the job of the LCCA would not be to serve senior centers, since seniors come to the senior centers and the programs available to all the seniors, say in Sylvan Grove, run through the senior center. If anybody was going, even a little shut-in person who wanted to come out and have a quilting adventure, it would come through the Sylvan Senior Center. So to me, the LCCA should really be supporting and promoting.
Well, I think
Those
they
senior
should
centers.
support and promote, but I don't think that. I mean, you're already providing those services as the Lincoln at the Sylvan Senior Center, and we're already providing those as the Lincoln Senior Center. So that's even like then if you're wanting that with the Council on Aging, it seems like that's a duplication.
Well, I guess I just feel like if the Council on Aging has a paid employee, that employee could be working with the senior centers to provide those things.
And I feel like I have been.
Yep, I believe you have.
So I
been.
think
Okay,
what
that's
I'm
great.
hearing
No,
is
with
that
Sylvan,
she's
I've already given her a
Right,
program.
yeah. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm hearing you say that anytime Sylvan calls me up, I'm willing to do for them.
Oh yes,
what it is that
I've
I can
already
do.
talked to North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging to make for sure that Sylvan, which I'm sure you guys are on top of it, but just double check. You got Sylvan Senior Center and Lincoln Senior Center ready for open enrollment, and that's one of my big things. Is I have one person who is going to be I have them signed up, paperwork stamped, ready to be a SHIC counselor in Lincoln County.
That's
so
awesome.
So excited about that.
Thank you to hear that.
Because
yeah.
I mean, I know that was a conflict, and
it's
although
huge. That's
sometimes
a
I'm like,
huge-
oh man, I would love to do it, but I can't. And so I
don't even think that you can't. I think it's just a matter of a time balance. You know,
I just don't know. I think that if we plan, and I said, you know, even if you could plan our days spread apart, like say maybe we do Sylvan in December or in October, and then Lincoln in November, not the 2 days before the ending of open enrollment like we did last time.
Right.
And another thing that I didn't know until this last year, whenever it was thrown on top of on our lap, pretty much, that April at the pharmacy, she I think did over 45. Helped with open enrollment.
Wow.
So and I would send to her, she'd be faxing, we'd work together on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was somebody that I didn't even know local
was doing or could do and
that
already
could do
doing.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, knows everything.
That's
so
great.
it's just learning. Every day I learn more, and
I'll just say one of the hesitations from my end is you can always justify more social programs with tax dollars. You can always justify that because you can make a little need for this and a little need for that. I mean, I honestly think at one time we were paying tax dollars to have one person's apartment cleaned. So at any given time, you can justify these additional expenses. So I just don't want to see us in the future get back to the point where we build up this expense for an organization and the next thing you know, it's not producing anything, but we're still paying right into it. And it's hard because all the board that's here now, the employee that's here now is all new. It's fresh. It sounds like it's being productive and you have legitimized reasons and answers. That could all fall apart.
Right.
So from the commission table, we have to be restricting our expenses to make it make sense for everyone. And I think what you're explaining, that you want to target the people that are outside the senior centers, there's no reason that we can't encourage them to come through the senior center, not to it, but through it.
Right. Some of them can't, maybe.
Well, if there's shut-ins, I'm not saying, oh, don't pay you to go see them, but I'm just saying there can definitely be an incorporation with the senior center doing things that then involves other people who aren't really members.
Right.
We had a comment over here.
No.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand.
He's getting a breather.
It's a comfortable place to put it.
Yes.
Okay, so, and you guys have the Lincoln County Council on Aging budget, that latest one.
Yes.
I made another copy if you needed it, but.
Do you have
And then, and then, I didn't make a copy of this, but I watched the video, and I think one time somebody asked for the senior services requirements, position requirements. Did you have that? I only have one
I
copy.
think I've seen it a while ago, and I don't know if you. No, I will say this before we get ready to distribute any money. There was a problem with the bylaws of the LCCA. Okay, the previous bylaws of the LCCA had the commission appointing the members, just like we appoint the hospital board, just like we appoint many boards. Okay, I'm drawing a blank on all, but there are 10 different boards at least. So when the commission appoints a board, you become a quasi-governmental agency, and you are really doing the bidding of the commission, which means when you bring your budget to us, we approve it, and it's pretty much supposed to be expended as such as was presented, you know. That's
open to Coleman Court.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If the board is appointed by the commission, and I believe the qualification is, I'm not sure how it's worded, but if you look it up on the Attorney General's website, if your income consists of a certain percentage, or I want to say the majority of it, but I don't know that that's true, is funded with public dollars, then you are subject to Common Cora, which is open meetings and open records. Okay? Right now, the way that the LCCA is, you are not subject to open records or open meetings. And
when did that get changed though?
Look at the
Do you
attorney.
know?
Oh, the last revision of the bylaws.
So is
bylaws.
that when
And
the
the
last?
reason that is when Terry Finch was sitting right there, and Alexis and Al Joe were sitting there. They didn't want to appoint people to the LCCA. We had people come in and apply, and we could go ahead But we still present them to the commission to be approved.
Yeah,
But that's not the same thing. I mean,
Well, it is the same thing, Alexa.
well, no, it's
What's
not
the
because
difference?
if your bylaws say that you choose your own members, then that's not
But you guys
counting.
want to do it that way.
Yeah, but
didn't want-
haven't you
No,
always
I
done that?
have to, I would have to listen to that conversation again to verify what you're saying.
Well, I
Yes, it needs
I
to be
think maybe
different.
you should.
Yeah, because I think we could change it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of having your meeting and
Yeah.
changing the bylaws. I do have a concern with that only because 100% of your funding is coming from the commission, or has been, okay? In that circumstance, I really feel like you should be open records, open meetings. Whether you
Right.
say you will or not, it doesn't matter because the law says you have to
will.
be
Yeah.
under these specific
I
provisions.
think you guys can review that.
Yeah, if you just change that, I don't see why there's a problem.
Yeah, I don't think
Prior to that being done, I would say then we're just giving money like we do to some other organizations, which I have a problem with, but they're outside of our county, where once we give them the money, there's no
know.
way to track where that money went.
Yeah.
They're not subject to the review. Now, the senior centers have their own fundraising,
Yeah.
and they also present budgets that I think are very specific, like this is for utilities, this is for, so we know what overhead we're paying. The percentage of programs compared to the percentage of overhead, that's another topic, I guess, for maybe next year's budget. But right now we're sitting on $75,000 that I believe we need to distribute. So I'm going to make a motion. I move to distribute the 2018 withheld,
That's already been done.
You already did that.
I'm sorry, 2019. I'm
19.
sorry,
No, we
I was
haven't-
wrong
we haven't gotten
here.
anything.
2019.
Yeah, we
We're
haven't gotten
budgeting for
anything.
2020. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Amend the
that's
motion, please. I move to distribute the withheld 2019 services for the elderly mill levy. Awarding each senior center their grant request, their budget request, with the remaining going to the Lincoln County Council on Aging.
How much was that, can we state? 20, 30.
I was rounding it in my head when I did the math,
35,000,
and I think it
25,000 to Sylvan, or 24, wasn't it?
when I rounded it, it was 35 to Lincoln, 24 to Sylvan, so that would leave about,
24, 132.
you have it?
24, 132.
I have a
Well, our
question.
Does anyone have the
budget
Lincoln?
for, here was our budget for Lincoln.
Yeah, it was 42, 150 for 19.
We show our actual expenses. I have the profit and loss attached to it. And last year in 2018, we only got $23,000 worth of mill levy money.
No, we've,
Yeah, you did
No,
it later. Yeah,
we
you
did.
it
We
later
did.
next year.
yes, we
Are
did.
you sure?
Yes,
Yeah,
we did,
yeah,
because
we
we
got
had it
that
withheld
now.
in the bank, and we
Yeah,
then
it
gave
took
it.
us till this year to get it.
Oh.
To those.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay.
So I apologize, the number I was using in my head was 2018 proposed budget. Your proposed budget for 2019 for Lincoln, well, I'm gonna leave the motion as is.
Well, I have a
But
question.
then-
So what is the balance of the LCCA?
Do you want to second it or
Yeah,
let
what
it
is-
die?
Well, I want to discuss it
Okay.
first before I second it.
Motion dies for lack of second.
On Sylvan, what services do you provide? You don't have meals. What's the Sylvan Senior Center provide?
We have coffee 3 days a week. We have an exercise program 3 days a week. We have a card playing group that's coming in, and we have quilting for the ladies. And then we provided the SHIC program from Manhattan in October, which they didn't think we'd have hardly any, and we ended up with 13 ladies or people coming in. We just finished having the program for the attorney. He came in and did
Advanced directives.
advanced directives.
Right.
And we can contact him for anybody that needs a will drawn up, and that's all free.
How many,
We have a monthly potluck and often have a program with that potluck.
how many,
You also host the lunch program for free. You're not charging the hospital.
how many
to do
people
that.
do you get, say,
We do that too.
a week, or how many seniors come in a week? Like, we have, like Becky said, for the 60.
I was like,
55
here's
to
my,
60.
I did an activity calendar from January on that shows you all the activities and all the people that came in those days.
Okay.
And then at the bottom, I showed you like
Okay.
how many meals were
But I was
served.
just curious on Sylvan, how many people average come in a week? Do you know, have a count, a
I
census
don't
count?
think that we've ever counted. We just
You were keeping track for a long time because that's how the.
Well, we have a sign-in sheet at the front of the building, and that we have to go through that sign-in sheet
No, you're
to see
okay.
how many.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just asking,
I would say it's about half as many
What?
people. If you have 55, I would say, I mean,
You have 25 people that come to the senior center and stuff. That's awesome.
a day,
A day?
no, not every day. Not every
In
day.
the course of a week.
Oh,
Wait,
Just 25 different
but you
people.
have 60 meals a day, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
6
that's-
hours a day.
you're talking 300.
You're talking 300 a week, and you're talking 50 a week.
No, more than that.
But
But
and
we
so
have tried to
I'm just asking why, and I'm not against Sylvan here, but I'm asking why you want $25,000,
Well, the
and you don't
budget
have no
explains.
employees like Lincoln does. What do you need that much money for?
We had,
I have the budget turned in.
yeah, by the budget. is what
Well, I
we
know you're
had.
fixing up your facility. You're getting a
No,
new
the
facility.
there's
budget
nothing
has
can't be
nothing
used
to
for that.
do.
Well, then what is their budget? Can I see it?
I
We
don't have it.
this
I'm
year's,
sorry.
got this
I think it's
year's.
out in my van.
No, it's just, and I'm not against Sylvan here. It may sound like
Does
it
that have last
because
year?
Lincoln's get
Dawn has it. Dawn
35,000.
has it.
Lincoln's get 35,000. They have meals. They get 300 a week. People coming and going through there. You're asking for 25,000, 2/3 of what Lincoln's getting, and you have 50 people, and you do good services. I'm not against that, but you don't have employees. So you're asking for a lot more money.
We have volunteers. that
Well, that's
do it,
great,
but the
but I'm just sa-
volunteers
That's-
don't
And that's
get
good.
paid.
That's good. But I'm just saying you're asking for a lot more money per individual senior citizen that comes into your
Well, first of all, we
seniors per
can't
week.
really say that because we don't have a knowledge of how many come in because we haven't tracked that.
Well, okay, say we give you 150 a week. I'll
And-
raise it way up. That'd be half as much as Lincoln, but you're wanting more than.
Well, yeah, doesn't 40% of the tax come from our end of the
We
county?
we don't go by taxes. We did that. The guy who pays 50,000 a year as a farmer out here, we would grade his roads every day, and the guy that doesn't pay no property tax, we'd never grade. You can't go by that
Okay.
thinking.
I would just like to interject a thought though, to what you're getting at.
I'm getting that we should serve individuals. We should base on individuals that come to a center and not on where the money comes from Sylvan.
Okay, but you're not taking into account how much tax money is being given by North Central Flint Hills to generate that program.
Right.
Because we're using our county money to subsidize a program that's being brought in by the state. So, well, a region. It's not even a state. It's a state and federally combined funded thing. So what you're saying is because that program provides meals and it generates a lot more foot traffic, you want to allocate the money per capita. But in Sylvan, all the functions are self-induced.
Okay.
They're not generated through an exterior program that they're just subsidizing. So, I mean, I see legitimacy in it. There are only 2 senior centers in the whole county. You can choose to go to one or the other. If you want to do quilting, coloring, they had exercise, things like that. I mean,
We
you can
also
go.
have concession stands that we're doing for the.
No, yeah, I'm not putting Sylvan down. I know
But
you-
I mean, of all those, I mean, I guess you're saying, and it's the same thing with us too. Like I have a lot of programs, but none of my programs cost any money. Like when I have Patterson Pharmacy come in,
That's
that's
why
all
the wording for the mill levy is very obscure.
I know.
Because
I
it
mean, I
says the
agree with
money's
you on
for
that.
it says the money's for the programs, but really what we're doing is we're funding your overhead for your facilities.
That's right.
And so it
But-
doesn't cost any, I mean, there's a difference in cost, but you're still talking about funding the electric bill. I mean, if that's what the budget, we can look at the budget, Dawn's gonna get it. But we're still talking about funding the overhead of the facility, not per capita funding.
Yeah, I know. I know it's gonna cost Sylvan more per capita because they have less people. That's okay.
This
But,
is our request for
but last year, though,
2020.
what did you have last year for a budget? Like 7,000, wasn't it?
No, we budgeted $24,132. That's for 2020,
This is the next one.
next year.
To give you an idea of the things we're budgeting for.
I do have a copy of last year's if you need it.
I think the idea is that the budget should be based on, not by the head, like how many people walk through the door. It should be based on the things that are needed to be done.
Well, that goes back to
Programs
the,
offered, the
I think it should go by service. How many people get serviced at one facility?
Okay, that's a per capita issue. You're back to the
Then
per
you take
capita
out the
issue.
meal
Well, that's
program
what I'm
and see
saying.
how many they service without the meal program.
It would,
And
I
then
mean,
you
I
have-
would be the first one to tell you that if we didn't have the meals program, it would be a struggle. But I don't know, I mean, I don't see your budget as to what you have that costs that much. Is that to keep your doors open? Is that to, do you have an employee?
Well, just
or-
the utilities in itself is 7,800, which they've never even received
I don't know.
Right. We
until
always
last
had to
year.
pay for
Until
ourselves
last year,
until
they
now.
never.
Yeah, and that's in your little building? Dude, that's how much it
That was
costs?
because of trees.
Wow.
That could be.
I mean, I didn't mean to say little.
It's probably rounded.
And
I
that's
mean,
why we
2,000. Maybe it's I don't know.
That's a little higher
This
because
is
Mike
next
rounded
year's
that up
budget?
for the new building.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, that
So
makes
it's
sense.
twice.
I'm sorry. So
Twice
we
that.
still need to see Dawn's budget.
She has it. Yeah?
I noticed, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Uh huh.
They have a building fund of $5,000 down here on their expenses,
Mm-hmm.
on their budget. You can't use your own mill levy money for that.
The mill levy money has been used every year on those buildings, both of them,
Oh.
Lincoln
Right.
and Sylvan.
Lincoln's done all kinds of things to see.
Oh yes, absolutely. Because
You're saying
actually,
it's okay
Lincoln
to take-
Senior
Yes.
Center, Lincoln Senior Center has put in grant requests through the LCCA to get the money to purchase refrigerators
That's
and
right.
stuff.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
but that's
Yeah.
that's for operation, not the building.
It's not for buildings.
That's not the walls.
No, I'm saying
We
that's
never asked for money for the building.
You did it one time.
They have
They
fundraisers.
had-
There
That's
was
for it.
one time when the Lincoln County Council on Aging came to us because they had an excess of money that they wanted us, if there was a special project that we wanted to do that had to do with our building, that they would help us. We had
okay,
to do that.
but
So
see
much
now you're
like
justifying
mill levy
it.
money.
You're
No.
justifying it because it's the same mill levy that we
But that
taxed
was the
for.
only time, and that was our wall, $700. That
Okay.
railing.
When
But that
I
was
on
mill
the
levy money spent on the mill
LCCA
levy.
board, we voted for to pay for roofing at the senior center in
Oh,
Lincoln.
yeah.
We paid for
Oh,
new
roofing?
air conditioning, and yes, I was on the board, and I know I voted it.
I don't know.
This-
That was before
the
me, but-
roofing,
That's
and
before
then
me.
we
That was a
also had
stipulation.
air conditioning and a heating system put in because you guys were needing it really bad, and we voted on the LCCA to put that in.
Well, and I
I
don't
know
believe
that
that the
you
Sylvan Senior Center has ever requested funds from the LCCA for refrigerators and stuff like that.
No.
For sewing
Oh,
machines,
yeah, they did.
computers, what's the difference?
Well,
Same
they
thing.
didn't
They
help
got
you
money
with.
for sewing machines? I didn't know that.
Yes,
This
yes,
month,
we did.
You were serious.
This time, just
This
recently.
time.
LCCA, give them money for their
Okay, so then
sewing
Lincoln
machines.
Senior Center got a roof. I mean, we can do that all day back
You're
and
gonna
forth.
justify one thing and not the other, that's what I can't understand.
That's why I just said to you, Lincoln Senior Center got a roof, Sylvan Senior Center has a building request. We can, right, right.
Yeah, I
Right.
just think like
This
in a-
all, but this all comes back to me asking the county attorney what that wording means. Are we funding services? Because I'll tell you something, if we're funding services with next year's collection, because I feel like we need to distribute what's in the bank, okay?
That's right.
And LCCA has $25,000 in the bank, so I don't see why we need to fund them at all. But the
Well, God
point,
darn it, they got 15,000. Why would you fund them at all in a building account?
because they don't,
That money we
enti-
cannot touch until December. Now,
Well, I think I calculated it's like a $200 fee or something if you pull it out early. But the point is that for next year going on, we need to decide what are we funding. Are we funding services only? Because like you said, a lot of them are free.
Yeah.
So that's an issue to me. Or any overhead? If not, then we don't even really need the senior mill levy money because it's been funding the overhead and the buildings in the past many times over. So do we continue doing that, funding the facilities that are housing the senior centers and the operations of the LCCA? Or do we just say, no, it's all for programs, let them do their own fundraising or ask for other grants to sustain their facility, and then when you want to pay someone to come in to put on a big fancy program, that's what we use the mill levy money for. It's got to be one or the other, and that's why I'm confused about the program wording. You know, a program is not an electric bill,
Right.
but I'm not
Randy,
opposed to
I'm
funding
thinking
the
back
facilities.
last year, and you're exactly right. Because we were paying rent for a building that we shouldn't have had,
Yeah, it was right.
so it's the same thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you think about it, how you turn that around, that's exactly right. So
yeah.
would
And I
have-
apologize. I didn't know Sylvan got money for the sewing machines. That's great. I mean, but there you go. There's a program. So is that a program or is it not a program?
Well,
Sewing program? Do you
we
buy
need-
the?
we
Do you
need
know what I
to
mean?
get past-
It's
We need to get past the past and let's move forward.
Mhm.
Let's do the proper thing.
Mhm.
I mean, everything we do in Sylvan and Lincoln.
what I'm
are
saying is for a
seniors.
$200 fee to dissolve your CD because you have $25,000 in the bank, you have 2 years operating costs right there. So why would we
No,
not
we don't.
fund the senior centers?
Why not?
Why would we not-
38,000
Well,
for 2 years.
I have a comment in the back. She has some
I would just
clarification.
say, as part of this discussion, I think people need to decide what's an appropriate reserve. I was always taught 6 months of expenses is an appropriate reserve. Decide, and decide for everybody. Then,
Well, that really affects the Lincoln Senior Center though,
Of
because
course
they
it-
have more than a year's worth
no,
of
I'm
reserve.
not disagreeing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
No, we don't.
decide.
I thought you said you had $80,000 in your
Oh,
savings.
no.
Oh, hell no.
We have like
I got
$15.
$10,000 in the money market for the rest of the year.
That's it?
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
That's it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
$10,000. And that's
But
why I got a question.
But are you counting your fund where you get the donations put into?
Like our.
That's only used for the building. We don't use that for operations part.
So, well, that's a whole nother discussion. Can you put your money in the savings for the operation, or can you put your money in the savings for the building, and then
But they
how
were
much?
fundraised for the building.
Yeah, that,
They
and
were
some of
specific
that is
fundraisers.
memorial money, that all goes into that fund. And our fundraiser for our floor fund, that all goes into that fund.
I'm not against having a savings account. I'm just saying when it's the LCCA having a savings account, that's a little different than the senior centers
Yeah,
because
no,
they're
I
not
agree.
supporting a facility.
Go ahead, you got another comment?
Yes, I was gonna question, okay, since everybody's so much against funding, like if we asked for, get a grant from the LCCA to pay for a refrigerator, okay, then do we need to increase our budget for equipment, repair?
Capital
and
outlay.
a capital outlay? So next year in 2020, we need to put $4,000 or $5,000 in our budget for capital outlay to increase our budget by that amount.
I think it's more appropriate to distribute money according to that organization, knowing where the money's coming from. If
Right.
you're saying that you're going to get a grant from the LCCA, which we are also funding, it just makes it look convoluted as to how you're getting your money. So yes, I mean, I would rather see this much capital outlay, not, well, we only need this much to operate, but then we're going to go get money from the LCCA because they get money from you too. It's
Yeah.
kind of
All
a,
right,
it creates a
answers my
sticky.
question. So,
Yeah.
But you know as well as we do, that $90,000 that was in that account was for 2 years operation for the coordinator. It wasn't for the seniors. So the commission said, spend that money down. So we've been spending that money down. We have 17,000 some odd dollars left in the account. That just barely covers the cost. Our budget for this coming year is 19,000 something. I don't know what's left over that you're trying to get out
But
of
what
here.
you're saying is right now, in your account, you have enough money to get through the end of the year. And in
Nancy?
December,
Here's our treasurer right here. She can tell me.
Well, I didn't bring anything with me. We have,
11,000. We have 11,000.
that's what I was gonna say, it's less than that.
It's 11,000.
okay. But you have 25,000 available if you don't want to pay the $200 fee to pull that out in December. It's available in December.
Now see,
And we're thinking of, cashing that out, and that will be used for the next year's
To make the
expenses.
budget.
Our budget won't be
it's high
as
next year.
high.
Now understand, we're
They
getting,
even won't have to have
we
a
have,
budget.
we have $11,000.
Ask for money.
That's for men clubs asking $3,500 for doors. We told them we'd give them that money. Now that comes down to 8,000. So see, we're operating on almost zero right now on the LCCA. We don't want to cash that 25,000 down until December, and then that money can go wherever.
I have a question. I'd be interested to know how you spent it down, because I'm sure if Sylvan Grove had known you were spending it down, we would have asked for a grant.
That's a good question.
Because
Nancy,
we
Nancy.
never knew that you were trying to get rid of it, and we sure could have used it.
I think they
I don't-
gave you that contribution out of the original spend down.
Yeah, and they didn't get a
She
second
says we
disbursement.
gave you over $4,000.
But I think that was the money that was asked to be owed
I
from
know,
what
but
they
it
didn't
came
get.
out of
It came out of
It came out of what the
regular-
savings account was. I see what you're saying.
That's how we helped.
So
I
my
see what
question
you're
to
saying.
you now,
That was
you're
really-
gonna
I
you're
know.
gonna $35,000
But
so.
that's still, that's how you slow it
35,000.
down by giving.
Well,
$35,000.
I'm glad my motion died because I really should not move to distribute money to the LCCA till you change your bylaws. That, I kind of skipped over that, but I kind of felt like maybe you guys decided you would do that, but really,
Yeah.
we
I
should,
think that you will. You said that.
I think
We
that's
should-
on the agenda for this.
we should
next
make
meeting.
sure that it creates a
Next week.
coma and Cora compliance.
That needs to be done.
Because if you're being given your funding based on just a grant out of the mill levy and you're not doing any fundraising, then it should be open records and open meetings.
But you did respond to the court request.
Yes, I have.
And I appreciate that, and I know you're going to be compliant, but
Yeah, I'm not-
to
I
me,
don't-
on paperwork,
No,
it's more
I
important.
agree.
That
Yeah, I didn't know that it was. I guess I didn't know that it had changed in a way that we weren't compliant.
Well, the
So-
bylaws have changed many times over the last 5 years, I'd say.
yeah.
Every time a new issue came up, there was a
Yeah.
special stipulation
There's so
put
many
in the bylaws.
revised. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So
There was a lawyer that came to talk to us one time, and he said, if somebody starts changing bylaws, there's a problem.
yeah.
Yes, and
it
the
got changed- That one
LCCA,
got changed a lot.
exactly,
And I said it to him, you don't need to be changing your bylaws.
right, right.
Because you're
That's
creating a problem.
Right.
And it does.
And the LCCA actually has spent quite a bit of our mill levy money on attorneys. So,
Yeah. Okay.
well then, Randy, what would you like to do? Because I do think we should wait to distribute to the LCCA until they change them, which can happen at your next meeting.
Which is
Right,
next
Tuesday.
week.
Tuesday.
But you're gonna distribute funds to Sylvan, and you're gonna distribute money to Lincoln, but you're not gonna give the LCCA money their money, right? Which is not how.
No,
No,
we'll give it.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
the bylaws.
Well, according
Well,
to
they
the
could read
numbers
same
that
way
I
they
just,
have been for years, if that's what you want. I mean, Don has to tell the bylaws that we've turned in for the last 10 years.
what are
Don't
you,
let the bylaws be changed then. But the bylaws were changed every January. Every time somebody new came in, the bylaws were changed. And that was wrong.
Well, they would change more
Well,
often than
and-
that.
yeah, I mean, they were using a lot of mill levy funds for attorney fees, thousands of dollars.
Teresa was, we weren't.
I know.
Right.
It's
Not
not the
nothing
same
more.
board. It's not the same
No,
board.
that's
We
true.
know that. But you don't want to make the same mistakes.
Absolutely not.
I
Right.
think what Alexis is just saying is that until it's in writing that the bylaws say that if you're an entity of this commission, as you were before, then that money shouldn't be distributed because it wouldn't be subject to.
I'll give you an example. The county hospital, we give just over $500,000 out of the county funds to operate. But it's a $7-ish million budget, okay? So that's not nearly a 14th of the budget, right? If I just do a little bit of math. So because the board, the hospital board is appointed by the commission, they have to open all their books. How much doctors get paid, how much nurses get paid, what their utilities are, what they've spent, what they've earned. Now, if the commission was not appointing that board, they wouldn't have to reveal any of that financial information. So it's a very key tool.
If they were elected by the school board.
That might be, yeah.
Well, that's how it is, yeah.
Yeah.
If they're like a school board budget, we don't get to audit or review. We could maybe, but they're elected people, the school board is, so they're.
I'm
right,
not
but
sure
we
if the
appoint-
election
but we
triggers the
appoint
coma or
people.
not. I would
Yeah.
have to look at that.
School board's elected, right?
But they might be subject to coma as well.
I don't know.
They are.
Well, they're
we got-
definitely
well,
a state-
they're subject to that, but we have oversight of the hospital
Right.
because we appoint them. That's the difference.
Right.
We can,
Yes,
we
yes.
can approve their budget where we can't approve the school board.
Right. All we could do if it was an elected board is withhold their subsidy. So, anyhow, I just think
But-
it's an
But what
important.
you're saying, the LCCA is gonna get $15,000, right?
Well,
Yeah, that's what that's-
actually, if both senior centers got, I didn't realize that it was the Lincoln Senior Center budget jumped from 35 to 42, 36 to 42, 150.
Our 18 expenses are 39,000, so it increased.
I understand. You ended up overspending or having to pull out some of your own money. So.
Yeah.
So I didn't do the math correctly because I was rounding according to the request from, okay. So it's 42, 150, 24, 132 comes out to 66, 282 out of 75 leaves 9,000. That leaves $9,000 left over if the senior centers get their budgets approved. So,
My understanding is those budgets were all approved last July.
No.
well, you can't approve more than what you have to spend, and we only had 75,000. So we did not necessarily give a breakdown. That's what we're doing right now.
And back in July, we didn't really have we had a guesstimate of our money that we had spent, but not for sure.
Well, is the senior center budget getting funded totally more important than the council on aging budget?
I don't know, that's your decision.
Yeah, but what would you operating it right now?
I mean,
where-
I have strong feelings towards both of them.
Yeah, but where would you need the funds is most severe?
Well, there's 25,000 in a CD that's dissolvable in December for the
Yeah.
LCCA. That's 2 years operating expenses almost.
But they don't
Well,
want
their
to.
budget's only their budget's 20,000, so that's really
not.
only one
Well, that's-
year.
You have 7 in the bank. You have 11 in the bank. You have 2 years in the bank right now.
Okay.
11 and 11
We're
and
gonna get $3,500 for the Vesper Men's Club. That puts us down to 8.
okay, so you have
So
8
so we
and
have-
25.
We have 25, 35.
8 plus 25 is 32.
33,000.
Well-
30,000. Our budget is 19,000 something for next year, which you've already got the money for. Disperse the funds, and let's go on for next year.
No, your
Well, where are
budget
you
that you
gonna
just
take it
turned
from?
in. Wait a minute. Excuse me.
It
The,
was 19,000 something.
There's 21.
yeah, that's for budget year 2020. We haven't even.
No, I think that's still
That's
2000.
19.
That's 19.
Because
Because
that's
we
the
haven't.
Telling them to come back.
Because
You
we've
told us
been.
You
to
told
come
us to come
back.
back.
Oh, 19. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, we don't have always so much money to go around here.
I think if I were commissioner, I would cut that $75,000 down lower, and it would make it lower for all 3 of these groups. And you'd have to use what you got, and you'd have to find other ways to get the money, which you've done. I think it's a bad position to put the commissioners in a situation where they have to serve the elderly like this. When you look across the countryside, there are roads that you can't even get to the senior center if you wanted to. You'd be late getting there for dinner. So what is more important? Just what is more important for the county?
Well, I think
Have to decide.
that is a conversation for next year. This mill levy's already been appropriated for seniors, so it kind of has to go to the seniors.
Yeah, we have this. Basically, today's discussion, we have the 75,000 in our funds from last year. We can't take that money and spend it on something else because it was a publicly instituted collection.
No money.
Do
You
see
don't
what-
have to have 75,000 next year though.
Correct. That's correct. We have not set a budget
Unless
for.
we can prove it. Unless we can prove it.
Well, what was the original motion you were gonna make? 35, 25, and 15?
Yes, but the 35 doesn't cover the 42 requested by the Lincoln Senior Center because I didn't make a motion with numbers. I just said to
Yeah.
fulfill their budget request. So that comes out to 66,282 and leaves 9 in the bank.
And 9 wouldn't be enough for you to operate right now, or would you have enough funds to make it to December?
They have 11 in the bank. They're
What do we
going to
have
spend
in
it
the-
down
oh,
to 8.
December?
We can't give me $3,500 to Vesper then.
Yeah.
We can't do it.
Well, that doesn't mean that they have to wait till December to get the rest of the money. They have 8 in the bank.
And if they got 9.
8 and 9 is 17.
That's 17. Do you think that'll get you through the end of the year? Or just till December?
Well, if your whole year's budget's only 20,
That
then
should.
Well, if you
that's
also,
more
I think
than
it
and also,
Fine.
you could pull that CD early, you may lose a little interest, but
it's like
Yeah.
$200.
couple $100
That would
bucks.
get us by the end of the year.
Yeah,
For next
I think
year.
it would.
Yeah.
With the 25 and the 9 and the 8 we have, that would get the LCCA.
Well, I was thinking 30,
2020.
Exactly.
so you'd like to be totally funded then, so let's totally
Only
fund
half a year.
let's totally fund the senior centers, and the rest left over goes to
Okay.
Lake LCCA, okay, Alexis?
I would like dollar amounts specifically. in the
Okay.
motion.
Okay, sure.
So
I have them right here.
disperse.
I have them right here. Yeah. yeah.
Yeah,
I
Yes.
move.
We would like that too.
dollar amounts.
I move to disperse the 2019 services for the elderly mill levy to the Lincoln Senior Center in the amount of $42,150, to the Sylvan Senior Center in the amount of $24,132, and to the Lincoln County Council on Aging Oh, did I do the dollar amount?
What's the leftover amount there?
Oh, hold on, I have to do the
I
action.
got
I
a
didn't do the
calculator.
change. Yeah, will you use that?
What was Lincoln Senior Center?
42, 150 plus 24, 132 is 66, 282.
66,
66, 150 I have.
No, it's
Am I-
42, 150 plus 24, 132.
Oh, I didn't do that.
66,
42, 150?
I have the
8,718.
8718.
Yeah.
Okay, with the remaining 8718 to be dispersed to the LCCA in the amount of 8718 upon their bylaw change of commission appointment to the board.
Got it?
Yes.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the 3 disbursements. Are there any further questions?
Just to clarify, because Bob and I have been arguing, and I love you dearly. They were disputing that we have $5,000 in 2020 budget for our building, and our new building, and we just have it under expenses. And so the question I have is, we're not allowed, or are we allowed to use any of the mill levy money towards the expenses of our new building?
Could I address that after I call for a vote? Because that's not for this
That's
budget.
next year.
That's next
So
year's budget.
I'll address that.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? I just wanted to say I put the stipulation on there to hope that you just change your bylaws and then we'll cut you the check and that way it's said and done. Okay. If there's no further discussion, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, for the following year, I would still like to have the discussion with the county attorney and really clarify what are we going to do? Because in my opinion, what we just did was clear up a whole decade of a mess.
Right.
You know, get the money out there to the places that use it. On the LCCA, you have now got that savings account from 100,000 down to 25, doing various things. We can establish a policy where we expect that you hold no more than 6 months in your reserves, something of that nature. You know, if by the end of the year you have a whole year's budget worth, well then maybe we can cut by that 6 months worth. I mean,
But,
we
you
have
know,
to
we're
establish.
just in this early process of repairing this building. We've hired a contractor to do the roof, which is money out of our savings account. It has nothing to do with mill levy. All the money that we have in our project account has come from our fundraising for the calendar, and donations to it. And at this point in time, we're not counting on using any of that mill levy money, but we wanted to know.
So here's the short answer. Just as Mr. Stegman asked about capital outlay, that's what that is, in my opinion. If you budget for capital outlay, whatever that dollar amount is, you know that you're going to be using it for unforeseen expenses, improvements, additions,
Then
etc.
we'd almost have to make a change in the budget we have now. I do have $2,000 in our capital outlay,
Well,
but it would have to
You
be-
just have it labeled that way. He was saying, well, if we know we're going to need a refrigerator, do we not budget for it and then ask the LCCA, or do we just budget for it? And I think that the LCCA becoming a money disbursement center is what it did before, and that was just a mess. It doesn't need to be a disbursement leg, so to speak. I mean, the commission can do that. It's a matter of emotion. So.
I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that we were needing clarification of what we can do for mill levy money towards our.
I'm seeking that same clarification.
Right.
I know the commission has control of that ultimately,
Hey,
but I still want some
Laura,
input.
and you guys, you can work, to help support, senior
Yeah,
center
yeah.
stuff. I talked to her about
We
it.
talked about that, Randy, at our last meeting.
Yeah.
And we have put $5,000 in our budget. But we want the choice of who we hire for a director and how we work
Sure.
with her. Because a lot of people don't know her.
Okay.
And she needs to come to
You
the
know how
senior
dangerous
center.
it is.
They're a picky group, and it takes a little bit to
Well-
work around the block to get them to do what you want.
Well, I'll let you
to
guys
do.
figure that out. How about that?
Right.
But we
I
are
won't.
in that discussion.
That's your stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna come visit Sylvan one of these days.
I would love it.
Okay.
We want you.
We've got it.
And I want a cup of coffee too.
Oh,
How about a pie?
Hi, Shirley Bates
I'm
for
just
the
joking.
Bible to come over.
Just
How about
joking.
a Dow Joe and
Thank
apple
you.
pie?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the discussion.
Yeah, thanks for the discussion. It's still,
At least we got another year.
good, thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.
Baby, you're squealing today. You're fired up today. Like that giraffe, huh? I guess Mr. Schneider, Steve, are you ready to come up?
Sorry, we were running a few minutes behind, but we're pretty close. Close enough.
Was this Schneider for you? Or
That is for you. Wait, that's for you. There's one here for me.
too much paper?
Yeah, I'd like to take the budgets back.
Okay.
You should have copies someplace, but if not, I can make you copies.
Yeah, what, I don't know, which ones, is those the ones?
Did you get the treasurer's budget?
No.
Here's this. Yeah, I'll give you mine.
We need that.
Oh, yes, I got
You
the
got
treasurer's
that.
budget. Yeah.
Did you get the Sylvan 2020?
that? Yes, I got Sylvan 2020, somebody laid it back there.
Oh,
so
may
you
I
can
look
have
at the
that.
Sylvan 19?
Yes. And, yeah. And then, I don't know what Becky gave you guys about things that she does, but can I make a copy
Yeah.
really
I
quick?
think she gave me that.
Yeah.
And then I'll make sure I get that.
Sure.
from you.
Thanks. All right, Mr. Steve, we're not in executive session, we can probably open the door.
It's really hot on there.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
hot.
guess after
Oh, wow.
after listening to all that, I thought, okay, give the money out. We'll go through this year. Next year,
Put stipulations on it.
revamp the budgets to be more reflective of what.
Is needed.
What's needed, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't just take a chunk of money out there and divvy it out. Huh?
Well, that's what's been happening.
And
Yeah.
and I'm kind of like you. I'm like 24,000 for Sylvan. I want to see them get their money, but what are they going to spend it on?
Well,
That's-
I'm gonna pipe in just because this is my district and
Okay.
I've been involved in the senior center there. They have gone almost a decade with minimal
Minimal
funding.
amount.
I'm talking $3,500.
Yep.
While we're giving 30,000 to Lincoln. So is there really 10 times the need? I don't know,
Not that
but
much.
there is a little bit of a justification in my mind that there was so much money given to the LCCA that never made it to the Sylvan Senior Center, and we never did force the LCCA. They have that $25,000 in the bank right now. We could have said, "Hey, we're not going to fund Sylvan. We already collected that money years ago, and it's been sitting in the LCCA. Make them pay Sylvan." But we really can't. We could have said, "We're not giving you your new money until you do that." But I felt like since we had the 75 collected from last year, we just
Yeah, just
split it up those
Spread
ways.
it up and then
Yeah.
next year
That's
start
the
over.
easiest,
Right.
I think that was the best thing to do today.
Yeah.
Well, and I can pick apart the Sylvan budget. I mean,
Well, we can pick
there
apart
are
every
lots
budget.
of things you could say, nope, 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 nope.
Right, right.
But this year, I think going forward, they have to know the expectations
And they're-
instead of just,
they're-
it's always a free-for-all, begging for your money.
They're also getting a new building and they're wanting that as a backup to help. Not like we talked capital outlay or fixing the building, is the money really, should that go for facility or just for services? Well, I think it should go for both maybe, but maybe more services than facility. But that's one thing, they wanted that to back them
Yeah.
up and I understand that, so.
I'm not against funding facilities, but I think it needs to be clarified because we're actually spending more money on electric bills, gas bills, and overhead expenses than services themselves. Because if you call the meal program a service, which you still are supposed to pay when you go, so
Well, most-
is that? I
yeah,
mean,
like
it's
$2
it's a
or-
lunch subsidy, is what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
You know, are we really? We're probably spending much less money for that because we're just paying $3 an hour for 3 people, so we're paying $9 an hour. It's not even 40 hours. And then we're paying for like the phone, maybe you could justify the phone line and a couple expenses for that, but all the other overhead is just for that building to exist. So we either fund these buildings or we don't, or we
Yeah.
expect them to fundraise to pay their own way.
Well, we may have to help subsidize. We want services primarily, I think, but you got to be common sense here. They don't have the money probably to fix. You know how expensive it is to fix facilities. So we can help support that when need be.
It occurred-
Maybe not all the time.
It occurred to me that going into the future, there's no reason we can't say, give us your budget, and I mean, you don't want to do the same thing every year because then you could calculate against it. But now that we have their budgets, we could say, hey, we're going to fund them at 70%.
Yeah.
They'll have to come up with the other 30% that they want, and that reduces the overall tax
Yeah.
for providing those 2 buildings. Because everybody's getting taxed to provide the senior center, whether you use it or not.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
In Hunter's case and some of the others around, Hunter serves meals and they have money, funding comes from higher up down to them, but at the end of the year, when they have excess money, they usually send it back to Beloit.
to the county.
To the county. Tipton, they send their money to the school. The parochial school in town, they give their excess money. I know a year ago they sent $3,000 back to Beloit. Well,
Now the only problem with that is since we collect it being a senior service because the public voted it in, the commission gives out money out of the general fund to different organizations, which we do at will. When we actually tax according to a public vote, we'd have to give it to a senior organization. You know, I'm just saying there's a few differences probably if we're not doing it out of the general fund.
Yeah.
But I will say for the last 3 years, we've only budgeted 75 and saved the county 25 to 35,000 of what could be taxed because I want to call it a statute. The resolution says up to 2, up to 1, and up to a half, and up to a half. So we don't have to tax any for it. We could tax $5 or 0, or it's just up to. But I'm proud of the commission for not having used the total 2 mills because it's really not necessary. I mean, there's a lot of money floating around for those 2 buildings.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are you up here for?
Oh.
You don't want another new road, do you?
Yeah, I do. I want my road finished, that's what I want.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with it?
Well, they gravelled it with clay. It is so slick you can't stay on it. You get a half-inch rain and you're in the ditch. They started putting sand on, but
They did put sand on?
on part of it. They
Are
started
we on 50th or Union?
on 45th.
Or-
They started.
oh.
They started at Sean's driveway, come down
Coming
around.
down.
But before they got to 50th, they ran out of time and sand, and they quit.
Did that help, that sand?
That sand made a
Make
real
it,
difference.
yeah, it binds it up, and that's what
So-
I tell.
But that little hill right there where they stopped about 100 yards short of 50th, you can't stay on that thing.
You're requesting
I mean-
more sand, then?
Well, they kind of indicated to me he was going to sand it, but
How long ago was that?
2 weeks ago we spoke with him and he said, I'll be there. We'll start doing it again next week, which was last week.
Well,
Okay,
That's
so you're
why
just
I'm here
concerned
this-
about the time frame.
Yeah,
Is-
that's why I'm here this week, is because he told me last week.
Okay.
There was Wednesday, Thursday when the roads were,
so they're sanding it, and you want more sand to
I want
complete the
the
job.
sand to complete.
And how much is it halfway done to your house or to your lodge?
No, they need to go quite a ways further.
So
He's saying they haven't made it to 50th yet. So
Oh.
from
Got
that
the
little
50th.
offshoot of
Oh, okay.
45th,
Oh, okay.
They still have to
got
go.
that. They haven't got that half mile around.
They're just okay. Well,
A little more than a quarter of a mile, probably 3/8.
but how did the sand work is my
The
question.
sand is,
it helped a lot.
it helped
didn't
a lot,
Is it
yeah.
is it binding with the?
Clay?
Is that
I think
is
so.
the
Time they grade it.
Oh,
Zacco,
yeah.
That's the Zacco pit.
Yeah,
material.
no, I noticed that.
Yeah.
That clay, that's why I kept telling sand, because sand binds with that clay. I know you want rock, rock's
Yeah.
ideal, but rock costs a lot, from $9 a ton from quartzite, which we do all the time, but that's where the expense is. If we can
Right.
just use that sand pit with this clay, that's cheaper.
But Norma Geary, they put some of that clay stuff on her road, and
Yeah.
it was a mess, and they did come back and they put road and stone on
Yeah,
her road, and they also did dry there south,
Yeah.
Michael's up that hill not that long ago, so.
yeah, that rock is what you ideally
I
want.
know.
But if you can, you just get by with sand, or you want rock too?
Well, I want the best I can get, that's what I want.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
Randy, you opened yourself up for that.
How about concrete? How about that?
Well, that'd be nice. Actually, I was gonna say, why don't you give me my $5,000 back and I'll buy rock and help put on my road too when you get done, so.
Well, I don't think we'll do that, but
Well,
we made a deal on that.
I didn't expect you to, but
Well,
where they're dragging their feet, I thought there ought to be a penalty.
Well, I haven't. We haven't seen Mr. O'Hare today, so I don't know what they're working on. But I'm expecting that they have a goal to finish
hopefully
the sand
the
issue.
weather's good now, it's dry enough. That
Which is
they
a
get
good
down.
experience. I mean, maybe they're learning by the sand application that's the way to fix some of this issue.
And I've mentioned that before, the Mitchell County, when they gravel routinely, they
Put
lay
sand
a
on.
third sand
Well, it
with the
should be.
gravel.
We have too much clay, and actually, I talked to a lot of other counties. They say clay is what you want. They don't have clay a lot of places. Clay is good, but we don't want 80% clay.
Right.
We want about 30% clay, 30% rock, 30% sand. Then
Yeah.
you got a good road. I know we don't always have that mix,
Yeah.
but No, but we do have the clay. Well, we need the sand.
There's also a-
99% clay.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah,
And there's a
98.
technique to blending it too. I think sometimes you get this strata where you get the gunk on the bottom, then we come in and sprinkle on some rock from quartzite, then we come on maybe with some clay or not. And that doesn't create a mix because you're just layering it, and so therefore you get it squished down, and then eventually when it gets hardened, the bigger rock and the pieces that can blow away and roll into the ditch are gone forever. So you're still left with mush to create ruts, and then they just fold in the shoulders on top of that, and it goes down and down, down. Yeah.
But anyway, so
Basically, you just ask Mr. Laird when he's gonna finish
we could ask Mr.
sanding 50th and 45th, because it needs it. I mean,
Put no more sand on there to finish the job
Did
up
they
to
put
your-
any on? I didn't go up there since it was bad. It was bad when I was up there. The entrance to Union from
no,
From
it's
181?
Still, it's still usually
Did they put any sand on Union? Not yet.
They have, but
They did.
they've dumped some. But that little
Right there at the entrance.
yeah, it's been kind of
it
a
is
mess
bad.
the whole time.
Well, that's
so,
a slow area in water. It gets good muddy there.
yeah. So.
Well, I could call him and please ask him to finish that road with your.
Yeah, the bad thing about it is, you know, that you guys bought gravel and you got a lot of clay.
I know. Well,
and
that's
you've done the road,
yeah.
but now you're having to come back and redo
Well, that's
the road,
what
so it's
we've
been a
been-
double cost to you guys.
We've been doing that all spring since I've been on
Yeah.
commission, because I don't know if we don't have pits in the county with better material, or maybe not. Maybe they're all clay. And I don't know if that's the case.
I'm still questioning the idea of a screen sifter because what we were told by Mr. Yost, who is our contracted engineer, and civil engineer right now, basically he was saying that if you have a screen sifter on site, then you have all these extra OSHA standards and federal regulations, and you become a plant.
Kind of like a quarry.
Yes.
Quarry,
yeah.
So then you have all these things that we cannot comply with. That I wonder about that. I don't know the
That
details.
should be better, wouldn't it? Then we could make our own.
On site,
Right.
we could say,
We
okay,
could bring the sand
don't want.
in, bring the sand in, mix it with the clay, maybe even get roadstone rock, mix it all together, have a nice.
If we know we
material.
had a pit where there was a long-term goal there, if someone would sign a 3-year lease, if we knew there was a lot of gravel there, there's no double charge in going ahead and hauling quartzite rock and sand to that location and making your mix there, even if it's a few miles extra to your location where you're dropping it.
Yeah.
It's a justified expense because you're not having to go back and do it all over again the next year.
We could almost have our own mixing plant or quarry.
Well, that's what's in question. How much detail is there in compliance with
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because our materials now is this clay stuff. It almost seems like all the pits are that way. Down south, where I was too, Westfall, they have the same problems, clay. So
Yeah.
it seems like there's no good gravel pits anymore,
No.
or at least we don't have, and the county doesn't seem to have good quality anymore.
We had a location I've asked them to come look at, but they've never.
You have a pit you would lease to us, man?
Well, I don't know. We need to look and see how good the gravel is.
Can you do a dig up core sample and tell us?
We have with our I have a
Backhoe?
trench or
Oh, yeah.
ditch witch, and it only digs about 6-7 foot deep.
Mhm.
It's got a lot of gravel in it.
Well, we're looking for new sources of good gravel anytime, so if you can find them, tell us.
So,
Because,
looks promising,
Alexis
anyway.
and I are tired, we've seen this, where we put the clay out, the customers, like Harold, call and, Howard, I'm sorry, then they complain, Union Drive was bad, then we have to go back with sand, and the roadstone, and, we do a double deal.
oh, I know.
That's expensive.
That's just what's
I was
happening
almost
with.
thinking of going to quartzite to begin with, and then they got it gravel already graded, KDOT graded levels of gravel. But now that's expensive, very expensive, so it's not really feasible to do it that way, but they could do it though. I wished we could
You
too.
know, when I looked at Norma Gear's road, and her house is probably a quarter of a mile from Union Drive, instead of putting that gravel on there that they did that was slimy, then they had to come back and put roadstone, and they just went to quartzite, probably 4 semi-loads. You probably could get 100 yards out of a semi-load. 4 semi-loads at $400 a load would have been $1,600.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been way cheaper just to put something good on right from the start.
Yeah.
Well, one of the concerns I had when I first got on the commission was we were in the middle of dropping $80,000 to crush that concrete and have it sifted for metal. But truth be told, it served a purpose. I don't know that it served an $80,000 purpose, but it has served a purpose because it's been a good material to put in some of these low spots that are always wet, too much clay, a dirt road that we're not going to gravel. You know, they've put some stuff in there from the concrete pile, so that's worked. It was brought to my attention that you could possibly get some road material, like they call it asphalt millings, right?
Yeah, millings. Well, that whole big pile by I-70 in West Fall
Well,
Road.
is that for
That's
sale?
what that is. I think it is. Michael one time was looking to buy that for her.
And I know that
We need to
someone
ask
was
you about
very
that.
upset because they said that we had all those asphalt millings piled up on 181 at the intersection of 18 and Ellsworth County came in and bought nearly all of that.
Ellsworth and Russell, they come in and bought it all, hauled it away.
Well, you know, I heard that maybe we could get.
And see, we have to look more long. I think the budgeting that's been done for the highway department hasn't been anything long term except for those equipment purchases that they were budgeting. Because the material purchases have not been long term. If we had thought about what's it going to cost to pay triple for asphalt millings, but we only have to go back there once every 3 years, then you're not doing the same routes.
Then we're not doing this clay gravel with sand on it and rock on it because it's no good. And then we got a bunch of citizens who are upset with us because the roads suck.
Okay, there's the road that goes from Vesper South to the interstate. Levy has a section right there, and there's asphalt millings. Big pile right there.
Who owns that?
I don't know. I was going to ask Danny
You
one
mean
day.
we're right there by that gas station?
Yeah.
Yeah, where Helvey lives, right there?
No.
On 14?
No, this is back.
North of that?
No, back to the west. To the next one, to
west over there. Well,
west.
I know where you're talking about.
5 or 6 miles back
West of there.
where the old Stuckies used to be.
Yeah, I know.
You go a half mile north, and there's a big pile right there. That'd be on the Vesper Road.
Well, and my suggestion would be take some of these highly traveled, what do they call them, major collectors, Union, Vesper Road, those kind of things. I think my road where the
Rocky
school
Hill
is,
Road, Iron, where I'm at.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
Manor
if you
house.
took those routes and really applied some material,
Good material.
with the instruction that do not
Do
rip
not
it
grade
up.
it. Do not grade it in a ditch.
Right,
How about that?
right. I mean, then you get a more long-term plan, and that creates time. If the graders aren't worried about redoing those roads every year, then they can move on to some of those minor collectors and straighten them up. I mean, forget the dirt roads right now. We're not even barely. That's a matter of an individual's request to get to a pasture or something like that. We need to really start at the meat of it and get that.
I agree. We need to take care of our major routes.
That we
first.
know people are traveling on.
Yes.
They leave the county to go to work. They,
Yes,
those
I agree. There's some roads you got 100 cars a day go on it. There's some you got 2, and we need to prioritize that better.
Or if there's a feedlot. I mean, obviously there's a lot of traffic on that road. There are semis. We need something more permanent and to make sure that there's a runoff and that it's not constantly being. We're almost overtending some of the high traffic roads. Then we're undertending the ones that get these silted in shoulders. And we have a lot of minor collectors, they call them, that are turning into a trough. So.
Could you apply for a grant to fix that highway south of Sylvan to interstate? Make it less rough?
Someone actually suggested dig that up and use that as your asphalt millings and then reinvest in laying a new road.
Well, that should be the state fixing that, right?
No,
that's from Sylvan to the highway is still us.
I-70?
Yes, because 181 goes west to the lake. So that it becomes it's an unmarked road, actually. We don't even put markings on it, which people complain about a lot.
I thought that was state.
No, that's Ellsworth goes a mile and then Lincoln picks up and comes north.
Well, okay.
But Ellsworth Road's like a boulevard. It's got paint and it's smooth and it's wonderful.
And it's immediately apparent when you hit Lincoln County.
Yeah, and you're going like this and, and it ain't marked. It's really, no markings, not night and raining. It's hard when you meet somebody to go down that road. But anyhow,
All right, well,
locate you.
I'll give Mr. O'Hare a call and you say that you request to get your road completed over there, right?
Yeah, I'd like to get it done, so.
Okay. Especially now it's drier, it hasn't rained in a day or two.
Couple days.
Yeah, which is,
It's always gonna rain tomorrow, so.
well, it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll miss it again. It's time to plant and cut weed, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. I was going to approve the street bills that we looked
Okay.
at. I don't see anything on there that
Yeah.
wouldn't really be our
I
responsibility
can't
at
believe
this
they're a
point.
year old.
Well, yeah, we do need to question them. Dawn, would you maybe have Hannah just ask them why these ones are coming in from 2018?
A year late.
I mean, we don't want to be double billed, but
We did not pay any of those because she looks back.
Okay.
So, and she had to obtain the bills from.
okay. Well, I signed them. Do we have any more business to come before the board?
I don't have anything.
I told you to call
Wednesday,
Haskell
we're to be
County.
here Wednesday, right?
Wednesday,
10.
we will be here at 10, and
What's
we
the
will
primary
be.
purpose for that?
Well, we'll have a presentation from the third company of the benefits
Okay.
management, and were we maybe going to talk to Eric Otting?
No, because remember, he didn't do the budget.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
You're gonna talk to Carrie and Dan and Ray and Struck.
Okay, so we'll talk to landfill and recycling center employees.
Okay.
Sounds good. And we still need to do our evaluations. Could we put that on the agenda for next Monday? Did we put that on the agenda anywhere, Dawn?
Okay, I think next Monday is full as well. This
The 24th?
ended up just being opened up when Michael said he was gonna be on, but yes, I'm almost sure the 24th is already.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do it. Let's put that on the agenda for July 1st. To do we have evaluations to do, and I know you may not have done it yet, but the plan is to send out the self-evaluations to the employees that did not have a director or that didn't have oversight management to do their evaluation. Okay.
And if I'm wrong about the next week, I'll schedule it in.
Okay.
And if not.
Okay. Well, we were almost on time today with everything. This is kind of a shorter meeting, but I really don't have anything else to bring to the table right now.
I don't either.
We can discuss some of these other things.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, if
Do
anything
you want to approve
develops.
these? No?
I did. I signed them. We don't have
that's
to,
all. We don't need a motion?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
because they're.
okay.
It's just.
Sounds good.
I do want to follow up on the Appendix A with Mr. Grace,
Yeah.
and
Now, I thought we had a pretty good meeting with him, but
I felt like the clarification of the responsibilities between the tenant and the landlord was excellent. I am still concerned about not only the back rent and the rent that's not being paid, but I'm still concerned about the transition that possibly needs to happen.
well, he's talking that he has these accounts payable and up to 250, 300 grand, right?
We don't know exactly
But
what it
anyway,
is.
but the thing is we need to determine if we would want to get his license, what transition that would be, right?
I'm saying if we consider all options, he's either going to remain and fulfill his lease and then want to leave, and then want to stay. Or he's not going to remain and fulfill his lease. And I just want it said publicly that the commission is not responsible for his exiting from the scene. So if he does wish to exit the scene at any time, it just requires his signature on the child paperwork through the state for us to acquire the license.
But we need to determine how we get the license. If we get a new license, not his. If we get his, it sounds like we're going to have to pay for it, and it's up there in an expensive type of situation there. So we need to figure that out here.
I agree.
I don't know who. I don't want to swear here, but I'm not right there. I don't know who can tell us about the licensing stuff, but can't we just get another one from the state if he exits, or if we get, you're working with a couple other new outfits.
I do. I have the paperwork
Maybe they would know how.
generated.
Maybe they would come with a license. Could they come with their own license then take over us?
I'm not sure because I think the license is specific to the facility.
For the facility, okay.
So that's the big hang-up. Again,
Yeah, man, that's what we need to figure that license issue out. Otherwise, because you know what we talked about.
Well, and unfortunately, I'm going to say I'm as much to blame as anyone that's been on the commission during this time because we've paid an attorney out of Topeka to not be able to get us that answer either.
I know.
And that's frustrating.
I agree.
Dawn, have we received another bill recently from Mr. Hay? Are we owing any bill on that?
I haven't seen one.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that.
Since the last one that we looked at, because
I have not seen one.
okay.
But I can ask Anna.
You know, you called that one lady from KDAS,
Yes.
right? She seemed very knowledgeable.
Patty Brown.
I wonder if would she know anything about licenses?
Well, yes.
Maybe we should talk to her about this.
Well, that's how we figured out that the
Because
child paperwork is just a signature. We don't have to pay anyone to get someone to transfer a license. It's up to him to transfer it because he owns it.
Yeah.
Getting the new license is the issue because you have all these new regulations if they're going to give out a new license in 2019.
And then we may have to comply with our old grandfather building may not.
But
That
here's
issue,
the question.
Right? Yeah.
If someone's holding our license hostage for X amount of dollars, could we spend Y and get our own license? Do we want to pay someone else's bills, or do we want to upgrade the facility to get the same license? If we're going to spend the money, is what I'm saying. I'm not putting anything on the table.
Well, I'm hoping that we could grandfather in our facility, because we cannot afford to. If they make us
the
comply with
biggest
it.
issue is the width of the corridors.
Yeah,
we can't just.
Well, you'd have to rebuild a whole new nursing home,
Right.
and that's not feasible.
Right.
So we got to go with the grandfather where we are, or we can't hardly go.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right.
Unless I'm wrong here, but anyway, that DL license is something we got to really find out what's going on with, because I thought the discussion was very good today though with him. We kind of know where we're standing, what's going on, And I think even if we don't see eye to eye on things, we at least know where we're at,
Right. And I will say the part that cannot be disclosed from the executive session is that what the financial situation is. But I will say that there was mention of subsidy from the county. And again, it needs to be understood. Right now, the county budgets a line item for the nursing home out of a general fund. If we were going to increase our budget by a certain amount to compensate, to give any more money to that, we still have a tax lid to deal with. So if we're not going to put up for a public vote on a special stipulation mill levy for the nursing home, then really we don't have the financial justification to just boost the line item for the nursing home. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, we'd have to go to the vote, wouldn't we?
That's
do
what
that.
I-
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I
Well,
mean,
we'd
yeah.
have to go to a ballot initiative to request 3-4 mills, whatever. Yeah, I think so, because that's what we've been talking about since I've been involved. If we get a new management firm, they're not going to come here and run this and lose money. So we're going to have to. Then they're going to. That's what so we may have to subsidize or not. What do you think, if there'd be any possibility of keep working with Mr. Grace, if he would try to pay down, give us partial rent, try to pay down his stuff? You think that would work, or not?
Well, my primary concern with the way that things were going for the past year, it seemed just like, I'll give the example of the assisted living. It seemed like it was insinuated that we were supposed to do the advertising for that. I mean, that was just insinuated. I don't agree with that, because we are operating, we're maintaining the building. We're not operating the business. Advertising, staffing, all of that is on the operator.
Right. He's running a business.
Right. I'm afraid that was poorly done, which it's maybe a learning experience. I'm not being judgmental because I don't run that type of business, but it seems like there's a lot of room for improvement, and maybe the new management that they have there is going to improve that.
Promote it better. Like I said, on assisted living to him, the other places are full.
Right, why isn't ours?
Well, he doesn't seem, I don't see ads or nothing saying we're open for business. And I don't, maybe.
The perfect example, well, and the other thing that we didn't talk about with him today that is still a sore subject for me, the home health care. Okay, there was a functioning home health care business operating from Lincoln Park Manor. That has been extracted from the business and sent elsewhere. You want to talk about a deficit building up, that home health care was supporting the whole system there. Now it's not there to help. So why should we be asked to help fund something that revenue was taken away from? Really, the county, if we're going to use mill levy money, services for the elderly, we should just run our own home health, and then we can use that money to subsidize the nursing home. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking the home health away from that was a detriment. It took one of the legs right out from under it.
Yeah.
So now why should we prop that leg up with tax money?
Yeah.
Business speaking. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for leaving the nursing home to just crumble, but there has to be a tactful way to approach that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I think we could rediscuss what a long-term care unit means for the hospital, because I know there's a lot of pressure against that, but it seems like a lot of places are doing that.
In other words,
Marion County does.
in other words, instead of having assisted living, you would have long-term care, transitions, possibly like the hospital is that. That'd be, you'd have to bring that up to them, what I would, I guess.
Right. I mean, that's not something we could force unless we just said we were going to withhold our subsidy.
They had it, I wonder why they ever stopped it.
Well, there is a cost in that, but other counties do it. So you're talking about what is the difference in the subsidy? If we're giving $120,000 and it's going to cost us giving $200,000 instead of $120,000 for the hospital to take care of it, do we want the headache of leasing out the nursing home with this issue for $120,000, or do we up the ante, give the $80,000, add that onto the hospital subsidy, and have them take care of it? Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the numbers that well, and the projection that we got from the auditor from the hospital only showed what, in my opinion, is the worst case scenario. So,
Are you gonna go tomorrow night to the meeting, hospital?
yes.
I think I will, well, I am, but
Yes.
we could bring that up and,
Yes.
see what they say, Mr. Granville and the rest of them.
He'll have to re-explain it, and I know he'll say, he's already explained it twice to me, but that's not my forte, so I don't
No,
really
it's complex
understand it.
because this
Yeah.
hospital,
Yeah.
medical stuff it's complex, you have
And
all
my
the-
question
all these
is,
rules and
if I can't understand it, that's one thing, but other counties are doing it. So it's not impossible, the numbers fit in somewhere, and maybe the other counties that are doing it are paying more out in a subsidy to their hospital than we're paying to our nursing home. So it's not gonna work financially, but maybe not, I'm not sure. I know that in Marion County, the county hospital, the administrator of the hospital is also the administrator of the nursing home side, the long-term care side. So they have, and he has an assistant, there's a double branch there, but he has all of it under his.
Now you're still working with some of these management?
Yes, I have two of them that I've been in contact with last week.
Are we gonna get in contact with them, will they come visit with us sometime?
Yes, they're gonna look at the information and.
Or you give them
Not yet, I haven't given them, because I'm waiting on the non-disclosures.
non-disclosure, we gotta get our attorney to.
I sent them
approve
that, and then they need to send it
Okay,
back.
who's that, Jennifer or Mr. Hay or?
Well, I would suggest just for the non-disclosures, we use our own attorney.
Yeah.
I really.
We don't need, I don't wanna spend extra money if we don't have to. Yeah, we need to make sure we're doing all the legal, follow the legal stuff there.
Hannah said we have a bill for $136.50 to pay.
Dollars?
Yes.
Oh, that must have been one of the
That's
phone.
last month.
Phone conference or something. Okay. Thank you for checking that. That's not bad. That must have been a.
For Mr. Hay?
Yeah.
$100? What would you-
$136.50.
That's,
Well, that's not compared. Yeah, compared to what.
no, I mean,
the
that's.
initial, but
I
yeah.
mean, that's fine. Okay, very good. Good, yeah, if we wanna get with these management field and see where they're coming from.
I think
Ask them about licenses and stuff.
Exactly.
They'll
That's
know
the
how to,
conversation
they'll know
I
how
wanna
to do,
have.
they'll
Right.
know how to do this.
Right.
And we'll have to say, here's the people we have, our census. And, like you say, throw all the details out. Is it feasible that we can get somebody new like that come in?
Well, and I have to say, I appreciate your diligence on the whole issue, because you came into it in January, and I'm frustrated because I've already heard all these things for a year and a half. But you're just kind of picking up where it's been left off, and I know that's not easy, because you have to learn everything
Well, I
first
just like
and then
to
apply
see
it.
it stay open,
And
because
I know.
it's just bottom line, it's a good service for our community, and it provides jobs, and it also gives our elderly, who most of them from Lincoln, a place here locally with their family. It's just common sense to me that can't, but if it doesn't work financially, maybe, who knows?
Well,
I hope it does.
We have not thoroughly explored all options, because I don't think we've brought anyone to the table who has experience.
I agree, I think.
We're dealing with all the people who kind of are just thrown into the mix. And there's a difference between that or someone that says, "Oh, I've done that before, and then this is how I figured it out."
These other people haven't reinvented the wheel.
Right.
There's nursing homes all over the place, managing stuff every day. They should know all this.
But the one thing that's different about Lincoln County, we have never had our name on the license.
Well,
Every other county that I've come across knew to have themselves on the
then
license.
you have control, because that license is control of the place.
It's your green light.
Well, we're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Either with Mr. Grace or the new way or something.
The only thing I can see that we should be contacting Mr. Hay about again is his correspondence with the Secretary of State Department, or the Secretary of KDAD's department.
Maybe we ought to just call the Secretary of State.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, why? I mean, I like this when you called this one lady from. I thought very impressed.
She's under the Secretary of KDAD's. She's the licensing.
We should go to her maybe and say.
Well, we can call her again.
I mean, she was very knowledgeable and
Yes,
very
she is.
thorough. And seemed very helpful.
Yes.
I mean, that's great. It don't cost us.
We need to go back and listen to that meeting.
Yeah.
And let's listen to our conversation with her again and see what the missing pieces are, what else we need to ask her.
Well, I think or we could just call her again, probably.
I know, but then she has to tell us the whole thing again.
Yeah,
and
read it
forget.
again.
There's so much information you
Okay.
can't remember.
Well, that's fine.
When was that? When?
Oh, it was like a month ago, longer than that even.
Okay, I'll have to look through the minutes.
It was probably a couple months, about middle of May or sometime. Probably.
I think it was earlier than that.
Yeah, it's probably.
I want to say it was March.
Oh, I don't think it was that early.
Really?
April, maybe.
Okay.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
I think.
It's been a couple months.
I think it was before Easter, in my time frame.
Anyway.
All right.
No, but I thought she was very helpful. And we should think at least maybe we could ask her questions on licensing and all this stuff. And we got a new administration, new governor. What's their feeling on licenses and so forth?
Well, the good news that I found out from talking with some people before about other nursing home issues, the secretary of the KDADs can basically do whatever they want. So I still have not gotten in contact with, well, I know it's a woman, and I can't remember her name.
Well, last year, so we just need.
But yeah, I think they have ultimate authority, so they can call the shots on that.
Well, like you said, we're kind of a special situation because we don't have any license. And you can say, hey, we want to
And
keep
we're a government-owned facility.
we want to keep a nursing home open.
Yeah.
One, we're at this situation.
I hear you.
She's ready to go home. Enough of this yabber and blabber.
May 9th. Okay, it was May 9th.
Oh, okay.
So let's listen to that one.
Anyway, are we done or?
I believe so. I will adjourn the meeting until Wednesday at 10.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was a good.